Call meeting the order of the Recreation Committee on 3/6 at 6:02 PM. Second?
Second.
All approved?
Aye.
All right. Let's begin.
We have to introduce ourselves.
Oh, I haven't got to that point yet. Members present.
I guess I'll start. Mary
Yeah.
Anastasio.
Courtney Boudreau.
David Broll.
Mark Sands.
Cindy Courier, the Council on Aging Liaison.
Alicia Greco here from the Select Board.
Awesome. And the next on the list is reading of previous meetings minutes. I haven't got January, but Mark did February nicely. Has everyone read it
Yes.
or looked it over? Do we have any changes, or are we good with this?
Was your last name spelled correctly?
That I don't know. I didn't see it.
I never look at the spelling corrections. Anastaio.
SIO.
Did I get that right?
Missing an S.
Anastaio.
SIO.
SIO.
In between the A and the L. So
Sorry.
that's okay.
Spell check.
That's okay.
Other than that, everyone good with this meeting?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second. All approved?
Aye.
All right, done. Next on our beautiful list, correspondence.
The only thing that I saw was a bill from Townsend,
And do you know how much that was by any chance?
close to 900, eight something.
And that was,
Submitted it last.
was that for a month?
Yes.
Do you guys know?
It was from, yes, it's a little over a month, actually.
Propane?
Yeah, propane.
And anything else from correspondence? I guess we can bring that into new business, because we did receive a phone call from somebody about use of the field in the fall. But
Right.
we'll bring that up later on.
Okay.
Um,
I'm
Yeah.
trying to think for correspondence. I don't know if this falls into the right category, but I did reach out to both John and Jason from Triton Youth Soccer and Triton Youth Lacrosse about some MyRec items, if you will. So I know in MyRec I was able to actually book the dates for Rush North because Danielle had uploaded both the Corey and the insurance liability to her account on MyRec.
Okay.
I was unable, I know we voted and approved and have held the dates for Triton Youth Soccer and Triton Youth Lacrosse, however MyRec will not let me officially book their dates because they have not uploaded the Corey and proof of insurance. And I spoke to somebody at length on MyRec about various different things. And yeah, for some reason it just won't let you continue with the booking
Until it's up.
because they're required documents. They can easily go into their own profiles and upload the documents from there. It doesn't have to be part of the facility request. However, to officially book them, that's what has to happen.
And if they, does anyone know if they've given them to the town clerk or anything like that, of those forms been?
Let's work on the assumption they haven't.
Right.
To address this, and if they did, then we have to figure out how to get it from the town clerk from Lindsay up to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a conversation perhaps you could have
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that migration of any information that Lindsay gets comes up here. There is always going to be, not always, there's going to be a problem with the recreational sports at the youth level because many of them will have, speaking of the Corey, they have to do a national arrest record in addition to the Corey, and some of them will take a longer time to get all the coaches. Many of these organizations will not have their coaches because they're volunteer parents, and they may not sign up to like 2 weeks before, so they usually wait till like 2 weeks before the season to submit it. It's a pretty easy process, but it's easier to do it in one batch, or maybe two. So if you would like, I can ask them to upload whatever queries they have presently.
Right.
And that way, that would trigger, my assumption, that would trigger that release. And then with the insurance, I think it's lacrosse will be doing it any time. So it's just because of their cycle. Soccer usually gets their binder from Mass Soccer, that's the governing body in Massachusetts. They write the binder and then give it out to the different clubs. So they have to wait till Mass Soccer gets it done. It's not done at the very individual level. Jason or John doesn't write that policy. So it's a matter of going through the process. Some of them have to go up even higher to the national body. So I can ask them to do the queries, submit whatever they have at this time, and then whatever insurance they have. Soccer shouldn't be as much of a problem because they're usually September 1st and would run for a year. And I'll check in with John regarding lacrosse.
Okay. Yeah, I reached out to both of them just to give them this info, and neither one got back to me. But they can either, I guess, 3 options. I can either reach out to Lindsay, see if she has them, then I can upload them. They can send them to me, and I can upload them, or they can go into their own accounts and upload.
So this is right now, it's just logistics because
For my rec, yeah.
we've already approved it.
Right.
So, all right.
Conditionally approved, I'm
Yeah.
getting that stuff again.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to put that out there that.
Yep.
And then the other thing with my rec is I know it came up, was last meeting when we voted, or the meeting before? On
Last
there.
meeting, I believe. Huh?
That was the meeting before, because I think Mark was here, when we voted to approve their,
That was the last
and
meeting.
then they asked, okay, so then they asked if they could edit, their submissions after they've submitted a request. You cannot edit a request.
Yeah, I think we decided against that, correct?
Yeah, the
We
idea-
did,
Yeah.
I'm just putting,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
putting it out there so that if somebody else asks a question, and then there's no way in the system to edit a request, you would essentially have to
Back out.
book it,
Yeah.
book it, cancel it, and then rebook it. It can only be edited once it's booked
Okay.
per the people from my rec, so just in case we get asked that again.
So, just to be clear, will you maintain a relationship with Lindsay to make sure migration of any information she gets goes to you,
Yep,
and then you can disperse it to us?
so then I'm sorry, who is Lindsay?
Lindsay is our point person downstairs, the assistant collector treasurer.
Yes, okay.
She's the one who gets the money and all that, just so that, I think one of the snafus in the past has been, information comes down there and it doesn't get up here, and
Yeah,
so you're the
I'll-
point person
I'll
to work
touch
with
base with
They're
her.
usually pretty good about emailing us and let us know that they've received things.
Okay, great.
Can I interject for 1 second? The administrative assistant that sits up here, Julie, she supports the select board and she supports Tracy, the town administrator. I've asked her to assist you in doing this with Lindsay.
Okay,
Because I know it's a lot of work. You guys are like the only really working committee, besides maybe the finance committee, that is out there. So I'm trying to lighten the load a little bit for you guys, so she's gonna help you. The matter, like, she'll interject with Lindsay and stuff, and I can, I'll send an email to her, copy you, because are you the one that's gonna be handling this piece? Like,
For
keep it all
my
from
rec, yeah.
Cindy? Yeah.
and I'm just, newly
So,
navigating it. so-
Yeah, I don't think Lindsay works in the treasurer's office, and I don't, treasurer collector, and I don't think it's appropriate for her to be handling this stuff plus that piece of it. I think Tracy wants to separate it, and there's nobody else to assist the rec committee besides Julie, and Julie's willing to do it. And it's only about, remember when you were looking at hiring somebody, it was only about 5 hours a year. So
Yeah,
she
it
can do it.
comes in floods.
Yeah, it comes in floods. So this is, I'm assuming the gates are all opening because of the
Yeah.
spring season. Yeah, so I'll
Okay.
send, after tonight, I'll send an email to you, Courtney, I hope I have your email address, I
Yep.
think I do. And copy Julie and copy Dave, the chair, so that everybody's on the same page.
Right, okay,
Okay, and she should help you with this.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
She will, not
She
hope,
will,
she will.
yeah, no, I mean, it should lighten your load a lot.
Okay, and I
That's
feel
it.
like it's only heavy, quote unquote, it's not even that heavy, just because I'm new at it and
Well,
I'm
yeah.
trying to figure out how it even works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Once I figure that out.
and
it'll
she
be
sat
easy.
with Lindsay already and has gone over this, I guess, this MyRec piece.
Okay,
So she's right upstairs, she can call Lindsay, it's just easy.
yeah, okay. And then I guess on the other end of that, and I didn't know if you could speak to it at all, but so when I book in MyRec, then when I book, it asks for like the fee, and it won't let me bypass until like a fee is input into the field. So I've just been, what have I been doing? I can go in and look, but truly, I just put 0 so that it just lets me go and continue. But I don't want that to mess up like somebody's
fees are.
billing or account or what the
Yeah,
message that
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
So
the
that is,
members are requesting.
okay, so that is what I got an email that I forwarded to Lindsay and Dave regarding why it's coming up 0. She was trying to pay it, and
Okay.
her invoice is coming up 0.
Yeah, that's probably why,
That's it,
because
okay.
my rec is, but I don't know what
The values
the
are?
value to put in. Like there's tier 1, there's tier 2, I don't know,
We'll
Who's
go
what?
over that.
and then the pricing.
Yeah, because there's a slight change, it's not significant, between the prior policy and the new one that we're looking at. The new ones can't go in effect until the select board approves it. So I'll talk to you at your convenience. At this point, I would say put 0 in.
Okay.
We will figure out what the money is, and I can initiate a conversation with Danielle and you and Lindsay to figure out what the funding is, so she can pay it and it's off her plate, and we know that she can get the fields.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, because she's the only one that's been officially booked again because she had the paperwork, but
Yeah.
it's the fee in my rec is 0 because it wouldn't
Yeah.
let me bypass it.
Okay, so there's a lot of kinks still for all of us to understand with this
Right.
product. Okay.
Next is bills and claims. Do we have any bills or claims? No? And we have to nominate and approve committee members for treasurer's duties. I think Mary and Courtney are gonna work in tandem on that? Is that what was the final?
Mary's going to be the principal, and
Courtney was
Courtney
gonna
would
be
be
backup.
the alternative on these that
All right,
are
that-
not able to do it. So you need to vote on it. I neglected to bring the piece of paper, but let's vote on it.
Yep.
And I'll make note of it in the minutes, and that will go into the accountant's file to say that you guys can do it.
I nominate Mary to be the treasurer and Courtney to be the backup treasurer. Anyone second that?
Second?
Any discussion?
What does that entail? Just out
A lot of work.
Curiosity.
A lot of work. No, you just, when she's not around, you will get you can approve the, whatever bills came up.
If something needs to be signed, you have authority to sign it. In theory, anything that deals with finances, that
Right.
if a warrant, the 6 bills that we get regularly,
Yep.
most of it will be done by Mary, but there might be something where Mary's out for 2.
And Mary
Yeah.
can, Mary,
If anything happens, I'll.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
just
it's-
talk about it.
it's
Great.
fairly simple.
I have
And Julie should be able to
nothing
help you with that too.
Yeah. Julie.
planned.
Julie's
great.
Your new BFF.
Yeah, Julie's,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
And sure, they are extremely helpful.
Yeah, and Annette, Annette too, she's
So-
really good too.
I mean, you go up there and ask them for anything and they
Yeah.
just, it's phenomenal, so.
And you don't have to staple, that's the only thing, don't staple, but
No,
and that's it.
Great.
That's the only,
paper.
Mental note.
Don't say that, don't say it. This is a new business, review and vote on permit applications. I thought that was approved.
No, going forward, this is going to be a standing request. Once the new a policy is in place. Applications for the field house, concession area, and basketball court will be ongoing. So we have to look at ways of integrating that into the MyRec so that people can just sign up to use the basketball court, like if a club wanted to use it on a regular basis.
But they have to come to us to ask
I
us
think
before
they
they.
can though.
Just making, I want to make sure, 'cause I'm not as versed as you are, and it's not necessarily, the other activities for the fields are done on a seasonal basis. There opens up at a certain time, it closes, we issue the permit, or deny the permit. Going forward with the field house itself, the basketball court and the concession area, the idea is to have it on a rolling application. So every month we could get something. To that point, we do have an application to use public space from the individual who sold coffee last year. I don't know if people remember that. She would like to do it again this year. I gotta pull up her name in just
I
a
have
second.
no idea what people selling coffee.
Yeah, we had approved this, it goes through us and then to the select board, because it is,
We already approved it, I think.
yeah.
In
But
fact, maybe we didn't.
the idea is
We're
it
waiting
has
for you
to-
guys to approve it, that's what it is. Julie's holding it aside to put it on our agenda until you guys approve it. See, everything we do has to come up through you first.
Yeah, yeah. And so the question is, I
Yeah.
am not familiar with this.
Michelle Abram has a coffee truck that she had given permission to use it. If we approve it, it goes up to the select board. They would approve it because she is asking to use the public use of the parking lot.
Yeah,
She
we
bring-
did approve her to do the Byfield Newbury Little League at the
Yeah.
library. The library said it was okay, so we approved that. Now we have to approve it here. I mean, you know, she just sells coffee, she got a coffee shop.
Little truck, yeah. So the idea, it'd be, the actual,
So monthly, so essentially, monthly, we will get these applications to use either the parking lot, the basketball court, or the field house, and we will vote on those monthly, whether we're gonna approve the use of those facilities, correct?
we will reserve space in the agenda for new applications. Now, if somebody wanted to, like, Michelle wants to do it from April to June, we can approve that whole time frame. But every time we meet, we should be just double checking to make sure people who have applied are, for those spaces. This does not go for the fields, because the fields fall under a different category.
Yep.
So if you don't see it on the agenda, which I'm going to try to leave it in the permanent new business, I moved it up in the schedule so we can get to it quicker and approve it and the people can go.
Okay,
Michelle?
so essentially what you're saying is, that is, the review and vote on permit applications is just open, so that we don't have to do each individual, like typically in new business would be food truck for the parking lot. And so we don't, what you're putting by review and vote on permit applications, that's what we're doing tonight?
That's one of, yes. The idea is if it doesn't migrate from MyRec to the time I put it in the agenda, we always have a permit review. Anything come in? No, there's no permit review needed, and then we move forward.
Okay.
Does that make
You should post who's coming in on your agenda.
Yeah,
You should,
Okay.
the person, because that's a week you have to do it. Because otherwise, when you post your agenda, if somebody, let's just say you have the Ipswich Ale truck coming, I don't
Okay.
know if you ever do that, but I'm just saying.
yeah, yeah.
If the neighbors see that and they're gonna be like, oh my God, why do they have the Ipswich Ale coming? You'll have the neighbors come in and ask you
Yep.
why the Ipswich Ale truck coming.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll
You
add that.
need, yeah, you need to put, at least that's.
Yeah.
on the-
Yeah, because I
Right.
wasn't aware of the coffee truck, which
Yeah.
I'm
No.
fine with, but I just,
So there is this, like, if you go in, and I made myself a dummy account, like if you, so in theory, the woman who wants to do the coffee truck can go into MyRec.
yep,
There's the field house, the basketball court, there's a special event and put the request in, but we wouldn't see that unless she does that on MyRec.
Right.
But would
Okay.
that block the field? Because she doesn't wanna use the field.
No,
No,
so
she's
because
talking
each
about-
field.
She's talking about the
has a
communication.
yeah,
coming
if we
in.
said special event, then that would show up on the park, I assume special event, we could write in
you can specifically write in
Right in
what
what
you
they
want.
want it for, so that would be.
So no,
perfect.
it's not that, like somebody could go in and request each individual field too, it wouldn't,
Okay.
it doesn't affect.
Is that
the
all
field.
set? Because I remember the field house, that someone wanted to request the field house, and I was told the field house policy is being worked through.
That's what we're gonna do
Right.
tonight.
Yeah.
That's tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, so then after tonight, this should be,
Well, after tonight, we're gonna get the edits, they gotta go back to town council.
Okay.
We'll have to review them again.
Then
So
does
it's
it
gonna
go
come
to you
back
guys?
to this committee, so
Yeah.
hopefully in April, you'll be able to finalize a policy.
and
Then
then
it
it
goes to the
Yes,
select
it's-
board,
okay.
and then it gets approved, so it's a couple weeks, at least 6 weeks away.
Yep. Okay. All right, so, we're gonna have to vote on this, I
Yeah, so Michelle would like to bring her truck in. Usually what she does is sets it up before 7 o'clock in the morning and is there until the games or practices are over. In the past, it's Saturday, Sunday, mostly Saturdays.
Huh. I haven't been aware of this, so this is something that's been going on, okay.
She had it up last
I think it just started last year, maybe
yeah,
last fall.
last
I don't
fall.
think it's been ongoing a lot.
No, she didn't do it last spring. It was just.
And
this is the
we
second
voted
time.
we voted and approved that?
Yeah.
Okay.
She just sells coffee to the.
Yeah, no, I don't, that doesn't like ring a bell at all, but maybe I was out that meeting, which could very well be.
don't
I missed one.
I don't remember it either.
Yeah, I missed one, so.
That's okay.
Is,
All right.
just out of curiosity, is part of the policy anywhere, does it matter if people put their request through MyRec or not? Like, are we requiring that, or?
I think that we need to have a central point of contact.
Right.
And once we get the policy done, embedded in the policies, the requests need to go through.
Through MyRec.
Yeah,
Well,
the
let's
idea
keep
was-
that thought, when we go through this policy,
Mhm.
we'll see
Okay.
if there's a place we can add it, or make
And-
sure it's in there.
And then once that is done, we can go to a point person, if somebody calls the town, somebody like Julie, here's the steps that
Right.
they would need to take. Because what was happening in the past is somebody would hand something to somebody who'd send it and we were just not aware of it. So the idea is to simplify it, streamline it, use the technology that we acquired. Okay, so the idea is Michelle would come in, set it up. Some practices, like on a Saturday, the games are done by 2. She would pack it up and just leave. She has a little trailer, she parks the trailer, moves the truck off the area, so it limits the area, the night's parking areas. She's had it, we've looked at a couple of spaces, trying to identify a good place for her that doesn't impede the flow of traffic nor create a traffic hazard. So at one point she was on the back side where the sledding hill was, and that would mean people would need to traverse the parking lot to get to the coffee. And then it was moved to next to the fields, about 4 spots in from the electrical box, from the road, let's say 50 feet from the road, parallel to the fields, so it's close to it, facing the parking lots. And if that's the ideal spot, or if we want to continue to work with her and DPW to say, let's find a spot, because if it gets too close to the field house, you're starting to get into the handicap parking.
So is there any chance that we could put it in that parking area where the garage doors are?
That
On
would
the
be
back side of the
I
field
mean,
house?
Anything's possible. I don't know if it's a lot of visibility. A number of people end up parking it, but if she's there, we can talk about that. I mean, are people aware what the area we're discussing?
Yeah, the back side of it.
I just
Yeah.
find it I would, as a vendor, it would not be as visible. I think it's something that if we could talk to her about.
Do you know where she parked last year?
Like I said, originally it was on the back side close to the sledding hill, the old sledding hill.
And then she moved it?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of traffic, so people would have to walk through the traffic. So it was moved closer to parallel to the fields,
Yeah.
about 50 feet from the road. That way it's not taking up that many parking spots. I was able to serve it there.
How many parking spots does it take?
It's one of those small, maybe 12-foot trailer. it looks like an old camping trailer or a converted camping trailer. So,
Just have her park out of the way.
yeah, that's what I'm,
Well, you don't want her to park across the parking lot, because then people have to walk across
Right.
it.
Right, and that's
I
what
I
the-
think it's good to be next to the field, because then people aren't walking through the parking lot.
So, what I'm thinking, maybe this is a bad idea or a good idea, the dumpster location is sort of from an aerial view is directly off of the field house. And there seems to be space from past the dumpster heading towards that back, so that we were talking about parking before. Could she park it there, because that's out of the way of the handicap parking? Because the only other, that is closer to the field, and visibility is there, so if people are walking near the field house, they'll see the coffee truck. So you know what I'm talking about? The dumpsters, if we drive up to the field house, the dumpster's here, and she parks to the right of that. Or is that too much of an incline for her?
I don't know.
This is kind of new, so I'm just, I don't know.
So I would just I would
Approve it
decide
and
if you
then-
want to approve it, and then somebody go down there and work with her on the first day, that's all.
Yeah. So I make a motion, we initiate the permitting of Michelle Abrams Coffee.
Last name?
I'll spell it for you. Abren.
Okay.
And the
How much is
coffee
the
truck.
fee?
There was no fee. She's
This
using
is a
par-
request for
parking
public
lot.
property
Just for-
use.
Yeah. For the spring season, for the weekends. I don't have a piece of paper again. Some of that migration of.
So once you guys kick it up to the select board, we'll have it, because we approved the other one from,
Okay.
until
Yeah.
like, I think from April 1st till December.
Just that, like,
31st.
what does it do for the town? It's just a woman selling coffee for,
Yeah.
Yeah, in order to use public property, town-owned property, you need permission of the select board.
right, okay.
So the library, first the library says okay, then it came up to us, and we said it was okay.
As a
The
food
rec
truck
field-
too, I think she has to get a permit from the Board of
And
Health.
Board of Health.
If it's a
that was
food
gonna
truck,
bring
yeah, she
that
has to
in.
get that too.
Yeah.
But for public property use, for the rec fields, you guys oversee that, so it would come to you first, and then it kicks up to us.
Okay.
You can't just, like, nobody can just set up a
Yeah,
tent
right, right,
on
yeah.
a
Lemonade
table
stand.
on public property, right. Even, believe it or not, road races, when they run through the town, they have to get permission from the town to use our roads.
Even putting up a sign.
Yeah, put up a sign.
So the motion is to accept the application for her to utilize the parking lot with the caveat that we work closely together to identify the most appropriate, safest spot for that location. Upon condition of getting appropriate certification and approvals from the Board of Health and Select Board.
That would be on Saturday and Sunday, correct? For the spring season?
For the spring season.
I second. Any discussion?
Now, again, just to reiterate for the record, because it's public property, the insurance and all that documentation would be approved by the Select Board and reviewed by the Select Board and not us.
Yes,
We are just sending it up to the select board.
you're saying it's okay.
Yep.
Yep. We're gonna vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
It's done.
I mean, if you have issues, you can, we look at it if she asks again, that's all. You don't know unless you try.
Right.
All right, update on pickleball. I think that was on Mark's court, as they say, and Cindy's.
That's funny. So I put our dates into my rec from May through September, for 2 days a week.
You did, yes.
So I put that in, and then Mark and I met with Kathy, our program coordinator, over at the course to look at that. And then we had our volunteer instructors head over there to look at it. She came up with this really great diagram for you all to see. She's a scrapbooker, so.
I'm sorry.
you guys can pass it on. We would have 3 pickleball courts set up on the basketball court.
Oh, cool.
I talked to her about the right nets to order.
So that's the
right
whole basketball
paddles to
court.
order.
Oh, okay.
So I have those.
That's cool.
A couple of questions I had. You had talked about temporary lines.
Yeah.
She was talking about like blue painter's tape. Of course, she would love to have permanent lines put on the basketball court. And I said, you know, in due time, maybe that'll come, but
Yeah.
for right now, we need a temporary
Yeah,
solution.
we had that option when we first did it, but the cost was kind of preventative,
Sure.
so we just did basic ones.
Yeah,
That's what we
yeah.
did.
So
That's cool.
you have temporary lines,
I have one
right?
set of temporary lines.
Like, I mean, that could be something we could look at ordering
Yeah.
too. But she was talking about painters, like blue painters.
Yeah.
My only concern was, I don't know what that's gonna leave on that surface.
Nothing.
No?
Yeah,
But then the other problem is, okay, it rains or somehow it comes up, like we're gonna have to be constantly putting
Yep.
the lines down.
Yep.
So, and then you have to measure all that, whatever.
When I've done similar type of thing, as with pickleball, when you have to do a remeasurement, something that's gonna be washed away, there's little tricks of keeping that location,
The measurements and.
measurements in place, yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that would be okay.
The other thought too about this is that maybe, again, this is something that, if this works out, is that I believe that the surface is able to be lifted up, and maybe we can do something underneath and then put the surface back down, so that it's not affecting the surface
The court
surface,
itself.
but yeah, there may be lines underneath. I don't know if that would work, but those were made to be taken up and put down,
Ah, all right.
so.
Well, we were considering Tuesdays would be our experienced players. Thursdays, they would have more of a beginners kind of teaching people how to do this. So, my question though too is there a defibrillator at the field house? Do you guys have one?
It does get aggressive at these games.
You don't know?
No, we don't.
Well, you just never know.
No, we do not have,
We
we
were-
spoke
yeah.
about it before, last time I checked, they're under $3,000. The big concern was with the, because the use is being used closer to the field house,
Mhm.
it may make sense to acquire one.
Mhm. I do know, I believe, Alicia, correct me if I'm wrong, at a select board meeting a while ago, it was Chief Lucy, was talking about a grant that they were.
Yeah, they
going to-
just got all new defibrillators, so I don't know where the old ones are, but we can move one over to make it.
Yeah, I think that there also, when we discussed this years ago, people have to be trained in it. So,
Yeah, but they
Funny
have
enough,
them,
one of my instructors, volunteer instructors, is a nurse practitioner,
All right,
so.
yeah, yeah.
they have them down, you know, this one on the,
Island,
yeah, on the island is a couple, so.
Well, if the Council on Aging is part of that distribution of new defibrillators, which I believe it is, I have two.
Can you bring one with
portable
you?
or stationary?
No, they're portable. So right now I have
Yeah.
one at the school, so I can take that one because we're not
Okay.
doing anything at the school. They have brand new batteries, I just got that
Awesome.
last year, so, and new pads, you have to get new pads.
Yeah.
But it is portable, so I'm happy to,
Leave it at yeah, cool.
you know.
That sounds great.
Mhm.
And to compartmentalize it for, particularly for the pickleball users.
Well,
Would
I
you
also
want-
do yoga and stretch class
Well,
there,
that's
so it's probably not a bad
okay.
idea to
Yeah.
have it there
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay.
Just, I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Would
If
that
we
be
have them,
available?
they can
Would that be available?
Mhm.
And I don't know how it would be, I haven't thought it through that hard. Having access for the sport teams.
So my only question is, can we get, like at the school, there's a box on the wall that says, you know, has a sign that says AED. Maybe if you guys purchase something like that.
To
and
house
then
it.
Yeah, and then maybe you put it in where the bathrooms are so that you know, like it's on the wall and accessible to when the bathrooms are opened for your sports teams, you know. I don't know what your thought is on that.
Let me ask Pat, see if we can just get one over there. I would think it would be better to be on the outside of the field house because of,
My only
Just for
concern is it
access.
being outside, like if it's a freezing cold day, does
Yeah.
that affect the?
well, they're outside in there's one outside of
Yeah.
residence house on Plum Island and there's one on the bathhouse, I think.
Oh.
Do we have to worry about anyone walking off of it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's.
If they need it that bad?
But
If they're walking, they don't need it.
Yeah.
you know the kids today, they
Yeah,
like to try
they'll
all
take
You
sorts
do
of
have to
stuff.
replace the pads
Yep.
very
Frequent.
annoyingly frequent amount.
Every year, I think you have to.
Really
And they're
Yeah.
expensive.
They're pretty crazy.
interesting.
But the instructor that we did a CPR first aid class and whatever, and that's how I knew to replace the pads. And he said, keep the old ones for like hair removal, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a victim, you can, because you're really supposed to get it on skin.
On the skin.
So.
So you use the old one, you rip the skin.
So I do.
Exactly.
And I have it in there,
First.
the old ones, and it says for hair removal, so.
I have a ton of old ones.
All right.
Better shaving, man. I like that.
All right, so that was the defibrillator question. So, but we would need, because we would do 3 courts, we would need 3 nets, 6 sets of paddles, because if we're gonna do doubles. And then
And balls?
these paddles come with 3 balls in each
Okay.
thing. And it comes with a little case to hold them. The net also comes, I don't think I printed out the picture of the heads, but the net comes with a case to hold that.
Yeah.
But then I would need some kind of trunk, I don't know, something where we could store these. And I don't know if you'd want to do that outside. The thought would be, when I was talking to our instructor, was it's sort of an unwritten rule at pickleball, if you're the first one to show up,
You set up.
you set up the nets. So I just want to be accessible to them so that,
So the question is, do you want, I mean, is that something that, if you're gonna, are you gonna be around during this, or is this gonna be someone that else is running?
so I can be, my thought was initially to be there, if not myself, the program coordinator, but like now with our yoga class or our stretch class, I go in the morning, I unlock the door,
Yep.
and then they show up a few hours later, have their class. and
So
lock
is
it.
that something that, the same idea where you keep stuff inside, where it's safe?
If that's the best place to do that, or if we have a lock, like a combination lock on something outside. I don't know what your thought is, if you prefer
That
them
can't be
to.
carried away.
Right,
Yeah, I think that.
and these nets, that thing is heavy.
Yeah,
I mean, if they really want it, they'll take it, but you're right, like, I don't know if you want it to be, is that gonna take up space inside?
You're the one who uses that.
And my thought would be, if we were gonna do it inside, it would be in that kitchen area.
Yeah, that's what I was
in
thinking
the
too.
concession area,
Yeah.
until we come up with a more permanent solution.
Right.
There's a certain aspect of having it outside, we don't have to open up the whole building. The bathrooms would be opened, and that's all we would need. So I think at this juncture, if they had access to the concessions area for that temporary storage, I know we were talking about that with the sport teams with their spray liner. I think that would work. I don't know, how is that currently being secured, the concession area? Is there a key lock for that?
No, that door is not locked. So like, we store extra chairs and stuff in there,
Okay.
so when the stretch class goes in, they'll
Chairs
go in and
come
take the chairs out and
Yeah.
set them up in the class.
I think it works at this point in time until such time that that room gets used by other.
Yeah.
And if that's the case,
It will
we
be in
could,
the way.
we could move it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a huge amount of space, we could probably move it, get a space in the basement, because they had talked about, putting nets in there at the end of the season.
Right,
So, at that point, the DPW director said that, yeah, we could use, they'd find space for us.
okay.
For nets, but I don't see any problem with moving those. If if we get someone to use the kitchen area, then it's sort of a nice area to use down underneath.
Could you use something like, you know how when you go boating, they have those
Boxes,
boxes?
yeah.
Yeah, maybe something.
I
like
just don't
that.
know how big those are. I don't know anything about the nets or sizes, but
The bag is about this long, it looks like a rifle case, really.
Okay.
Um,
because I know that there was, one of the sports teams had, for a while there was a box on the field.
Yeah.
They'd had a lock in it. But I think this is an easy solution since City has
Let's get
access
things
to it.
rolling, and they may say, we don't like it here. We end up getting a outdoor storage box for the season, and then as the season winds down, bring them inside. Well, we can figure that
Figure it
out. I think at this juncture, my suggestion is that we allocate funds to get the nets so that we don't wait till the April meeting
Yep.
and then it's all of a
Yep.
sudden.
Yep.
Because there are some times this winter, it was, diehards would have been out there. And if we could say, yeah, you can set it up, play it during these hours or other times. So what is the cost?
So each net is just just under $181. This is on Amazon.
So $200 probably
So
each?
$200 for each net, and I need 3 of those.
Okay, so that's 6.
6 sets of the paddles,
Mhm.
those are $80 each, so 80 times 6.
I don't know what that is, 48?
480.
And then I did not figure in the lines, those temporary lines, because I just figured I would buy painter's tape.
Yeah.
Put in some money in that too.
Yep.
$100 for that, that stuff's not cheap.
They're a little bit more than that. The nice thing about the lines in this equipment is if and when we get indoor space, like at a local gym, they can be transferred right in. So the lines, you don't have to paint the lines on the floor. And most of the players, you just put the lines down and you can record up accordingly. Because
Yeah.
it's all pre-measured.
You know
And
what,
those don't get in the way as you're playing?
No, they lay flat.
I have to get back to Chris Huntress about, and when I do, I'll ask him if he knows much about retrofitting those courts, that we could do something for pickleball. As far as painting,
It'd be nice if you could flip it over.
yeah.
That'd be a lot of work.
Would it? I don't know.
Yeah. And then they have to be, what's what I'm looking for? Puzzled back in because they interlock.
Yeah. I'll find out. Because initially, when we went through that whole process, we were gonna put a basketball court, and then there was.
I remember that.
We were thinking about the cost was not gonna be all that much, we were gonna actually do a separate pickleball court.
Maybe you can put like a template
Yeah,
down
okay.
there and get some of that powder spray
Because there's
Yeah.
this.
and then hose it off.
What is this one?
Yeah.
Like 115.
How it works.
What's that?
This
How
number.
it work, is
This
it
one.
Okay, how much more?
I'd rather have it way over.
Yep,
Yeah, I don't think the line's gonna be a big deal.
And it'd be 3.
3.
So how does the lines move?
What's that?
How do the lines move?
It just, they were using to use painter's tape. So they just worried that maybe with painter's tape, if you walk across that, put some, they'll
All right, I
pull
thought
up.
that
How do
some
these
of
stay
the-
down? Are they
move the
like
lines.
weighted?
Hmm?
Yeah, how does it?
Some are, I'm not certain. I'm not certain.
Because this is showing temporary pickleball lines, but it's all in different pieces.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's that
Yeah,
windy.
that's what like I've seen those, it's like, how do they transfer? Like, how do you pick them up? and-
Just think of a big piece of nylon, 3-inch piece of nylon, a little bit heavier,
Like a strap almost?
a strap thinner than a strap, but yeah.
So it just lies down,
You lay it down, yeah.
and if you, all right.
and
so-
if you hit it, does it move?
If you hit it hard enough, but.
No, I'm saying, as
Yeah,
far as
no.
like if you step on it, does it slip out or anything like that?
No, they're just,
Okay. Here we do.
and they're, at this site, it's $150 a set.
For the
So,
lines,
yeah.
so 3 sets.
Mm-hmm.
3 sets. So that'd be 16, so under $2,000 to provide this,
How much are the lines?
150.
to provide this type of equipment to allow our citizens access. Right now, we're going to start off with the COA, depending on demand, would consider opening it up other times, particularly during the summer for families. Local-wise, they do a family night where any young person with their parent can come and play. So it's not just a place for teenagers to just hang out. It's more designed to bring families together. And that might be something we consider for the summer, that we set it up and encourage parents to a pickleball night up there.
Okay. Yeah, I like that idea.
So I would, if up to $2,000 to make the acquisition from our funds. I make a motion that we allocate up to $2,000 to acquire the necessary pickleball equipment to be used in the town. Currently, at the present, well, just up to $2,000 for pickleball equipment.
Yep.
Phew.
Second.
Second, we should vote on this. We're all approved? Yes, yes? Aye.
And my understanding is the person who looked at this equipment is a aficionado of the sport, so they know
The
not
right,
just
yeah.
the right stuff to get.
She told me do not get wooden paddles.
Okay.
Yeah.
If
Awesome.
my life depended on it, don't do it.
Yeah. So I will ask you to make the purchases,
Okay.
and Mary, will you work
Yeah.
to
So when
make
those
sure?
purchases come in,
When I get the invoices, I can give them to you.
Okay.
Bravo. Well done. Pickleball.
Pickleball. Update on
You're
pickleball.
gonna wanna come.
I know.
I was just hitting the ball around for a few minutes, it was fun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is next is me. So, the next thought was the update on the Central Street fields. I talked to the town administrator, and she said, we need essentially a master plan. So, it's, we have the idea of doing the playground, and then we all had different wants on that field. So, I sent a letter to Chris Huntress, basically saying we're looking for a master plan. And he responded back, said, Dave, thanks for reaching out. I can give you a range of magnitude for a master plan for the items you requested below. The finished product would be a master plan with several images for each of the items outlined below. This would not include permitting, construction details, or detailed costs at this time. We could do those things at a later date if you'd like, which is basically what we want to do. We want to find out what could happen. So Central Field, this is what he has so far, and we can add things or subtract things if everything works out as far as the town gives us money for this. Central Street master plan to include existing fields, parking, and walkway. Existing basketball court, which he already did, ADA accessible requirements, a canoe launch, which he already has plans for, bridges to the small island, over towards Triton Regional High School, which we talked about. Walking trail that goes around the perimeter of all the soccer and football fields, which is probably the terminology should have been soccer and lacrosse fields. A playground, an EV charging station, a bike station, public art area, volleyball court, and an outdoor shade covering. The cost for the master plan would range from $22,000 to $26,000, depending on the detailing required and existing base plans for limits outside of the Central Street campus. Let me know if you need anything more detailed this time, Chris. So, it covers everything we want. I just don't know about cost-wise if that falls into sending out for bid or not, $22,000 to $26,000.
That I don't know. We'll send that to Tracy.
All right, I'll pop that up to
All
Tracy.
right, and then once everything we spend has to go through her. She's
Yeah.
procurement, so let it go through her, see what she says, and then, it's 22?
$22,000 to $26,000.
$26,000.
Yep.
Okay, and then you'll have a whole plan,
The whole plan.
and then we
For all
can
of
pick
that
away
stuff.
at it as we go.
Yep.
Because I really, really want to get a playground with money.
Yep.
That's the last piece. The only piece of the puzzle that hasn't touched anybody in the town is the kids. And I want to get them a playground.
Yep,
So, and we only have until 2024 to spend it,
yep.
the ARPA money. And then it's going to get redirected and it's going to go elsewhere, and then
we missed out.
I'm going to cry. So, I don't want that.
Yeah, and,
We got to get on this. So,
The-
you emailed Tracy.
yep,
And then at your next meeting, plan on scheduling Chris
Yep.
to come in and get this moving.
okay. And when we do, should we focus his attention on, one, meeting him for that, but focus his attention, which is sort of the big question about location for the playground? Because
Well,
when
that's what he's gonna give you, a plan, because he knows where best to put the stuff,
Yep,
you know, and he'll fit it.
okay,
And he's really good,
yep,
so.
yep,
And then we'll do the playground first, and probably the canoe launch, we'll go for the low hanging fruit. you
Yep.
know, Stuff that's easy,
The
yeah.
bridge to Triton and the canoe launch is, based on previous work, is is almost like an afternoon. The trail maintenance might be the biggest part of that.
Yeah.
His plans might have been something a bit more detailed. I've never seen those. You guys probably were, or someone at.
Did it go through conservation yet?
No, none of that has. I
Yeah,
was
so you gotta
waiting.
go through
Yeah,
the
this
conservation
was
commission and all that stuff.
Years ago, when the whole master plan for the soccer fields. and
Okay.
He was involved with that, and there was.
Huntress was?
Yeah, and he had previous plans for a canoe launch. So I don't know,
Okay.
what the difference in Mark's ideas and,
Whatever, yeah.
Mr. Rebicki, they were working on something, and how that coincides with what Chris had. Because it may just be, their plans are simple, we don't need Chris for it. I don't know how detailed.
Well, that's
his plans
okay,
are.
but Chris has to put it on his plan, because we need a big master plan for everything.
Okay, all right, awesome,
So,
all right,
that'd
Alright.
be
Big
great.
picture.
okay,
So plan on having him on your next meeting.
okay.
But the question, we talked about it last meeting, but with your presence here, the idea is there's only really one place where a canoe launch one area that it can be created. And that's going to be based on the recommendations of the Conservation Commission.
Right.
Okay? The bridge to the Triton complex can only be in one spot.
Right.
The bridge to I call it the island. There's an upland area behind the lower parking.
Mm-hmm.
That there had been some boards put down by the
Boy
Boy
Scouts,
Scouts
yeah.
that didn't. But now, with the different regulations, it's going to require more.
Mm-hmm.
They can only go in one spot. I was hoping to meet with the select board to get their approval to initiate the Conservation Commission's involvement because it is town property.
Yeah, well, that's putting the cart before the horse. We gotta get Huntress's thing first.
But what I'm saying is, we can.
And then we
But-
go to the conservation, then you definitely, it's gonna go there anyways. But see, the
Okay.
problem is conservation approval only lasts so long.
3 years.
So
And
if
then
we
you
get
can
it
do it.
approved now and you don't go for it, it's like a waste of time. So you gotta go for it when you're ready to do it. I think that's the best use of taxpayer money, honestly, at this point. But we start with Huntress, but, Mark, just be mindful of that. This is already there, and deal with it with him. That's my
Okay.
recommendation anyways. First, we gotta get this. I know she's got some money put aside, for this
Yeah,
so.
I want to approve it with her.
Mhm.
So what we'll do is, the plan is right now, we will, I'll talk to Tracy about this. And then I'll see if I can get Chris in our next meeting, whatever
Okay.
meeting that is in a month from now. And just, go over it with it, and if
Do you meet
Tracy's
the first Monday of the month or the second?
usually,
Yeah.
well, yeah,
That would be April 3rd.
I can do it the third.
I might be away, but
April 10th
Sure, yeah.
is the Monday. Easter, I believe, is the 9th.
Hopefully he's available next.
yeah, hopefully he's available.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
That's all right, and if not, you guys know what you're doing.
Yeah, yep. All right,
Good news, thank you.
yep. Update on webpage recommendations.
I talked to Matt Cooper, he gave me access to the website. I was able to edit at least the outdated links and such.
Yep.
Cleaned it up,
That's
as
good.
much as I could, and
Yeah.
that's kind of left it at that.
Well, it's nice not having the fields are closed from like 2 years ago,
Yeah,
so
like
thank you.
2017 or whatever.
Yeah, and I think you put on, or somebody put on some of the other town notices,
Yeah.
so
those-
that's perfect
yeah.
use of that space.
So we can edit.
So now, can
whatever
you go
else.
back this fall, when it starts to rain, you can go back and edit that, right? You can
Mhm.
put up
Yeah, I
there,
can go in and.
fields are closed.
That- That sounds like a good idea, but if we get people dependent on looking at that, and we don't close the fields we close the fields at noon, and you're working, we may not have access to
Okay.
it. I'd prefer not
Okay. If
personally.
you have a
without-
different method, that's fine.
Well, we voted on a sandwich board, and
Okay, that's even better.
we're gonna put a sandwich board up.
Okay,
Yeah, that little-
Question
even
on-
easier
question on
than
that.
you know
Who's
that they
buying
saw it.
that?
I don't know.
Like,
I know we talked
I
about it.
know we
Sandwich
talked
board
about
up.
did you
it.
appropriate money for it?
We
Yeah, we
did,
have.
we did.
Ask Julie to buy it for you, she'll go research it for you.
Okay,
Yeah, well, I was gonna go up to Bridge. She can do research, but I
Yeah,
was gonna go up to Bridge.
have her work with Mark.
It's down here on the agenda, but we'll jump if people don't mind. My suggestion is, this is the front side,
yeah,
on a sandwich board that looks like this.
yep,
And if it doesn't cost too much more, on the back side, there's this.
yep.
Oh, perfect.
Please keep dogs off.
And that way.
Well, I know, I drive by, I still see him running on the field.
Well,
There's
it's,
so many people bring their dogs.
I just didn't know,
I don't know how to fix it.
yeah, no, there's a whole thing about that. We went through this once before, and
it's a guideline, it's not a law, there's already laws in the books here. If the dogs are a nuisance, people, the animal
Yeah,
control officer.
there's no leash on Newbury, so.
Yeah, so.
yeah.
The idea is to keep them off and redirect them. Most of the dog owners, I go up there, I'm not on the field, I do the back loop and around the island and such.
I'm curious, is there a dog park in your thing for Huntress?
We,
I need to speak to that. Everybody think, do you have a dog?
I have a dog.
Me too.
Okay, what size?
I have a German Shepherd.
60 pounds.
From what breeder?
Ryan House up in Salisbury.
Okay. From Paul?
Yes,
Yeah.
you know her. Yeah.
I won't go into the parents. I know Paula pretty well.
Yeah. So you know my dog pretty
Yes.
much, yeah.
They sound really good, and I've worked with people over in Danvers who put in the dog park there. Danvers put one in because the house lots are a lot smaller. There's not any open space, and
That's true.
we need big spaces
Everything
for
is
larger
one-
dogs. If
Yeah, everything
play
one
area
giant-
is this big, and you have
Everything's
two
one
big dogs in it, they may
One
not.
giant dog.
Everybody thinks you're a
Dogs
good.
attacked at a dog park, I don't like them.
Yeah.
Someone let their
There's-
dog just
there's-
run and
Yeah.
Is really
you have no control.
very,
It's a lot of policing.
yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't, be having something like this, I mean, people will use, oh, look at Groveland, they put one right by the baseball fields.
All right, 86 it, that's so you
Yeah.
talked me right out of it, thank you.
Just so you know, the baseball field is they put it next to the baseball field to keep the dogs off the baseball field, because people
Right.
are using that.
Right.
Do it
But
here, too.
our goal should be educating the users to be responsible owners and not let the
Keep
dog
your dog
defecate on it.
Yeah.
Right,
I've had
so-
one complaint in the last 8 or 9 years of somebody defecating. And as a person who uses the fields, in my car when I go up there, I always bring a pooper scooper and I see it on the field, I remove it.
I bring extra bags too.
Yeah.
Most of the people I've seen that walk dogs tend to do that back path and start the
Yeah.
field.
Yeah, and then
So,
if you do get that big long thing going around,
Yeah,
that's where they'll walk.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, but they won't walk dogs there. I don't think it's a good idea to have people walking dogs in that circle. That would be my thought,
On
because
the
someone
side.
from the senior center will end up sticking right in.
Getting-
Yeah, and we don't wanna have dog pop, because people don't clean up. You can tell people to clean up, they're not gonna clean up, no matter what.
But they will come and walk their dog on that path.
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, I would probably be against it. So, the other thought is maybe in a couple of years, we move them all to Kent Way if you want to have a dog park. Put them all, just put a big fence and that, the
Well,
woods out
actually-
there, let them
Long
go.
Island
dogs
is
to
Yeah.
I know, that's where I would take my dog.
The island has this thing that says, without fail, it says, no dogs between X date and whatever date, not in the summertime at all. And you go there and it's just like 8 billion dogs. And we always leave our
Well,
dogs
the
home because you're
problem
not
with
supposed to.
that, the problem with that is town-owned and state-owned beaches are so little. People own those properties. So you're telling a resident that owns his house, you can't put your dog on the beach? It's their property.
The beach is their property?
Yeah.
To
they
the
own
water
it.
line,
Up
low
to
water
the high
line.
water mark,
Oh, really? I did not know that.
yeah.
I thought that was town property.
No, that's the problem, and Mass Audubon is starting, it's gonna be starting pretty soon with the pike and plovers.
With the
and
plovers.
The dogs and the beach, and
Dogs and
people
plovers.
own their own.
Okay, all right, that makes
homes.
sense.
It's
All right.
a nightmare.
So
Go ahead.
you're gonna purchase the
Sandwich board.
I will work with Julie.
Julie.
We got, last month, we allocated up to $400 to see how much of this we can get.
Right.
Okay. All right, that's excellent. Update on temporary crossing with a permanent bridge. We're gonna do that with Chris
Yeah,
Huntress,
that's
correct?
So table it until later, yeah.
Identified additional improvements to the Central Street recreation areas. We already did that. Do we wanna, does anyone else wanna add anything to this list? Well,
Was there some
we think about.
signage that we needed for that, for like a gate or something?
Don't park in front of the gate or.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I just kind of, I don't know where that came from, my Tourette's.
What does the season start?
Traditionally April 1st, although we did approve the 31st of March for lacrosse, so at the end of this month, we should have something in place.
Maybe I'll talk to DPW and see if they can do something temporary there, so that people don't park there, and that if the soccer has access to open that gate, or lacrosse, or whoever, they can open it without having to worry about a car there, whether it's just painted, it says no parking here or something, and that
Well,
just.
how about this? Can we ask DPW to put a sign up saying it's a fire access road? Or don't park in front, because people will park if it's no parking, but it's a fire access. And then when we decide to move it, because the idea, and this could go in with Chris, is to alleviate that problem with that gate being closed or people park in front of it. If we were to continue the fencing that we currently have in place, that is the pressure-treated
Yep.
circular cylinders with chain link between them around the back of the field to eliminate or greatly minimize access to the pranksters that come through every 3-4 years.
Yeah.
You could end up taking that.
My only concern with that would be the people parking way out back, like, because you can, I don't know how thrilled the police would be. They can drive up there now and flash the lights of drive, and they know that there's parking. People that might be causing hanging out would be in the basketball court and the major parking. But if that all is open, believe me, if I was that age, I'd be right down the very end of that. Can't see.
It has been used for that in the past, but
Can't see.
there's only one way out.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So-
I will mention to Chris about
Yeah.
that.
But in the meantime, we do need a sign,
Yep.
so if you can talk to DPW.
DPW.
So that we can have access.
Okay, cool. Create a spending plan for fiscal year
Table it.
24. Table. Excellent. I agree with that. Anyone have any decision on that? You have no problem tabling that? Creating a spending plan for next year?
Table it.
Table it. Identify protocol to create a new line item for funding items actions not permitted in the current line item.
Table it for another time. We were
Agreed.
good to leave it.
Policy review vote and next steps, that would be Alicia running, is that right? Yes.
Yeah. So, back in December, the policy was sent to town council, before December, was sent to town council, and somehow it got, I don't know if it got lost or what happened, but I had Julie follow up on it, because you guys can't move forward with anything until this is all done.
Yeah.
You can't schedule the courts, you can't schedule the field house, because you need to have policy first.
Yep.
So I followed up, I had Julie follow up, and her and I met last week, and I looked at all of town council. Town council is Jane Friedman, those are her edits. And I looked at them, there was nothing that was very complex. Mark's already looked at them, he's got his own comments, but we need to work through it as a committee. You guys need to work through it as a committee, and I'll make notes. I'll send these back to Julie. My hope town council will agree, edit this document, and then send it back to you for approval at your next meeting, to kick it up to us so we can approve it, and then we'll go on the website.
Done, yeah.
And it'll be done. So, in front of you here on page 1, her first comment is, the formatting and numbering throughout this document is confusing and makes it difficult to differentiate between sections. The committee should review and revise the format.
Can we, everybody look at it, to expedite it, I don't think we need to read every one, we just go to the next comment.
Well, my suggestion was after we go through this, I could ask Julie to reformat it. And-
That's what I'm saying, is there's
Yeah.
answers to all
Well,
these
I want to have
questions.
a comment, so let me reply. I'm just gonna work on this.
Yeah,
Because I had sent this
Okay.
back with comments being, yeah, I agree, but we're not gonna do it until we're done with the document. Because all
Yeah.
the formatting we do is gonna change based on our
Right,
our
so we're
input.
gonna ask Julie to reformat it once we have all these
Yes.
things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Next. See why this way I'm like, oh, we can do this, is easy. We'll just delegate. Get through it real quick. Okay, so the next one is under Field House Building, item 1, Field House Building. Item C, is there additional custodial staff when the field house is open? And if so, does an individual member of the Recreation Committee have authority to schedule custodial staff?
And the question is, no, there's not additional staff available. We can let DPW if there's any major problems, but right now they're on a schedule to maintain the interior of the building. When this was originally drafted, this was when we had a third-party vendor take care of the property.
Okay, so there's no custodial staff, that's my first
Yeah,
response.
DPW,
okay.
yep.
So the next one is, okay, under Field House, A, restrooms. 1, youth and adult sports league. A, every effort will be made to have the laboratory section of the building open to the public during scheduled sporting events, during practices and game
Whoa,
times.
Well, I'm
Where
lost.
where you jumped?
Me too.
hang on, you jumped. I'm
We're at-
still on page, or the second page.
You-
I'm on comment
Did I
FJ, yeah, I'm on
did I miss a comment?
FJ3.
Hold on.
Yeah, right below it, it says, why is majority not required?
And the reason is...
So it was, go back to your
Okay.
custodial staff,
Yeah, here it
which was
is.
FJ2, you wanna go to FJ3. Why is majority not required?
Yes, so if you read where it's highlighted,
Yeah.
under item C,
At the discretion of any one member.
yeah, additional time can be accommodated at the discretion of any one member. Her question is, why is a majority not
Okay,
required?
the answer to that is it's a time-sensitive issue. Saturday morning soccer game is happening, there's a delay because the officials are late, and they need an extra hour to complete the game, or the schedule of the game has changed. That's why some of these people book so many hours, is the day before, they may have a major schedule change. So, things may happen with the field house, or, and I'm using the fields as an example, but the field house, something gets delayed. We can't say, oh, it's 4 o'clock, you need to shut down. If they had contacted Courtney and said, Courtney, can we stay open for another hour because of this happened, this game is running late or whatever, we can accommodate it on the spot. Otherwise, that request has to go to the
The next
committee,
committee,
which isn't
the
going to
next
happen
meeting,
until...
yeah.
So as long as somebody is
Just
responsible
real time.
Right,
to say,
right, right.
time
So,
sensitive.
but now this is a policy, remember, this isn't
Yeah.
just, you know, policy is like overarching, so
Yeah.
there's things that come up. But what happens if there's an event after at 4, let's say they were supposed to be off the field at 4, and at 5 o'clock you
It's-
have another event.
This is for the field house.
Well, whatever it's for.
Okay, it's for the field house. The person who is approving it will need to be able to access the schedule to give that approval. If there's nothing happening after it, go ahead. If there is an issue, then it's their responsibility to be able to access. I mean, going down the road, we need to be able to have easy access to whenever that building is being used.
So the one person would take the responsibility
Yeah, and it
of,
could be, we could figure out if we do pot of the day type thing, or,
Okay, so why is a majority not required? Due to
open public
the
meeting.
time-sensitive
Yeah, that's,
time?
Yep.
Alicia, let me resend this to you, because it's all,
Just read it, what did you write?
it responds to, it was time-sensitive meeting issue. Example, soccer match delayed. Yeah, it's time-sensitive, things get
Okay.
timed off. Time-sensitive, you can't
That's
have. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so the
Yep.
next one, it says, all requests and approvals must be in writing and sent electronically to the appropriate personnel. Who is the appropriate personnel?
We could say the pot of the day, designated rec committee member or DPW. I didn't want to point to anybody's
Yeah.
name, Courtney.
So how about, how about we take this sentence out? We don't even have it in here. Do we have to have it in the policy?
Well, who's going to make that approval? No, we don't need to have it in there, but I'm saying.
Yeah, can we
who makes it?
remove line C and
It's-
just, not worry about it?
Yeah, how about we keep additional time and additional time can be accommodated at the discretion of any one member of the rec committee, which is gonna be the
Period.
person
And
who
then
does
this,
that.
all
And
requests
then-
and approvals, that's what you want to redline, right?
All requested approvals must be in writing until electronic, yeah, why don't we scratch that? Do you like that idea?
Yeah.
All right, again, I'm just trying to document that, going down 4 years from now, when none of us are on the board, somebody says, well, I give that approval. Who gave you the approval? Jim did. I'm just trying to create a paper trail, that's all.
So, let's think about that, because that's a very good point. Let's say additional time can be accommodated at the discretion of any one member of the rec committee.
So how are they going to get that accommodation is
And
really
how
the
do you
question.
know they need
How are they
extra
going to
extra
be-
time?
They contact us.
How are they contacting us?
Like it's Saturday afternoon and then.
Yeah, it's Saturday afternoon at 8 o'clock. Are
And-
they emailing us, are they calling us?
Yeah, because we're gonna be at
That's
dinner.
Because it says
And
request
who's
must be
manning
in
that-
writing
who's
and sent
manning
electronic.
Well, that's what,
Email at 8
Yeah.
o'clock at night.
So the other question is, do we need this line in there? Can we not have any accommodation for additional time?
That's my thing.
Yeah,
no,
I think we
okay,
should just
take it
get rid of the
out.
line.
If they roll over, they roll over, you know, you'll,
Yeah,
again,
they're not
okay.
gonna be paying for the thing, but the problem is if they stay late, who's gonna watch them?
Yeah.
And who's gonna police it?
all right.
So,
I think that line C should disappear.
okay, so we're gonna scratch this line. Okay. Tentative fall and soil will be tentative fall and spring schedule, weekdays 2 to 7, weekends 8 to 8. An outside handicap porta potty may be installed for the spring, all right, so we like that. Events including camps.
I'm totally lost.
Yeah, we're still
Yeah.
on that.
I'm still reading the policy.
She's
I'm not
reading the policy.
comments.
It's just,
Verbatim.
we're on page
Oh,
number,
okay.
we're on page number 6 bottom.
So at the top now, I'm gonna go down to the next one. A, at the discretion of
Yeah,
the
that-
recreation committee. Why is other necessary and what is a regular user? At the discretion of the committee, other regular users or large short-term groups may be required to pay a fee on number of participants and duration of the event.
Talking about,
How about we just call them other users? Or at the discretion of the recreation committee.
there's a little bit of a jump, a segue, because we're talking about porta potties here, correct?
No.
Come
This
down
isn't
on the
the
next
whole,
page.
this isn't the whole policy.
This is under events including camps.
The
This
field
would
house
be,
policy.
Okay.
But this jumps.
Yeah,
This
events
way.
including camps.
so this would be events including camps, and then A, at the description. So it's actually
Okay,
related to
so this-
events
Yeah, so
including
the-
Maybe
camps.
that's why she said the formatting's not good.
Yeah.
No, what it is, here, the thinking is, if it's a small group of 10 people, is very different than hosting an event with 100 people and the excessive use of, say, the restrooms.
Yep.
That's what that was the concept behind that. And the example is Circus Smirkus when they used to come there, or the music festival.
Yeah, the music festival would be, thousands of people or whatever, and there could be someone that's, 30 people, so.
So how about we just have it read, at the discretion of the recreation committee, users may be required to pay a fee based on the number of participants and duration of the event,
Yep,
Yeah.
okay?
yep.
And I'm gonna strike that.
Because that's redundant, that's covered below as well.
Okay, so it's gonna read, A is gonna read at the discretion of the recreation committee, Users may be required to pay a fee based on number of participants and duration of the event.
Yep.
Okay, and then we go on to if a user, fee should be applied in a all right, what is a short-term group? You struck it. Fees should be applied in a fair and equitable manner. You know that, right?
Yeah, we'll set a policy of the number per person, depending on the going rate.
Okay.
The idea behind this, just so everybody is aware, like when Youth Circus Marcus, when they were there, we would require them to have X number based on the Board of Health's recommendations, how many porta potties they need to supply the anticipated number of people. Well, we have bathrooms inside there. If we open it up, if they want it to be open and not supply the porta potties, because those would count towards the number of lavatories available, if they want to use those 3 in the men's room for 150 people, that'd be a lot more wear and tear on our equipment. So we'd want to charge them for it. And just sort of not allow people to use our facility excessively.
All right, now I'm gonna go down to the concession areas
Yeah.
on the next page where this blue is. It says if this sentence relates to the procurement of concessions operator, the successful bidder would be the qualified bidder offering the highest fee to the town.
What JF number are you on?
JF8,
8.
You can see that, I can't see that.
that's
Okay.
where I took it from classes.
I have
See
no
that.
JF8.
Okay, so I'm
Okay.
down here where it
Yeah,
says
babe.
concessions
Yeah.
areas. Okay, vendors. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna read the policy.
Yeah.
1, required to abide by local, state, federal laws and must obtain any necessary permits and/or licenses. When the concession area is in use, no additional vendor on the premises is permitted without prior written consent from the assigned vendor, the Recreation Committee, Board of Health, and/or the Board of Selectmen. So she didn't have a problem with that. So this would pertain to this woman that you just had with the coffee truck. You have
No,
the,
because that's the concession area, not the parking lot.
no, but if, so she can sell coffee outside and then Little League can sell coffee inside? I don't think you're gonna want that.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah,
But
so when the concession area is in use,
yeah,
no additional vendor on the premises is permitted
so that's our responsibility.
without prior written consent, so you got that, okay. Now, 2, here's where she had a problem. With the approval of the select board, the Recreation Committee may secure a concessions operator or manager through the open bidding process and in consultation with the chief procurement officer for the
Perfect.
town.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so that's,
Just for Julie, in the interest of formatting, like Board of Selectmen and Select Board, I would assume she needs to keep everything.
Consistent.
it's,
Yeah.
well, we're the select board now, so there's no such
Right,
thing as a
so
board of
she'll have
select-
to change that
She'll have to go through
and make sure it's all
Yeah.
uniform, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Thank you for catching that, I didn't catch that.
That's how old this document is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Then-
JF9, which is the no cost paragraph.
Who
Under
will be
con-
responsible for pay, that one?
Yeah,
Okay, so now it says, 2, with the approval of the select board, oh, no, we already have that. Fees to the town that may be required, so she struck that out.
Right.
Okay, so you're okay with that, right?
Yep.
Okay. If a concessions operator of the field house is awarded, said contract will be prioritized over other users. She doesn't have a problem with that. Okay, 2, area nonprofit groups. 1, can apply to use the facility as a fundraising tool at no cost. So who will be responsible to pay for the custodial staff for groups who are allowed to use the facility at no cost?
I think
That's
it goes
DPW.
back to DPW,
Yeah.
back in our, because we don't have
There's
a
no
cleaner,
custodial.
because the cleaner became too
Now-
expensive for us.
Me, I've got my old PTA hat on. When I was president of the PTA at Triton, we had pay. We were a nonprofit. We had to pay user fees at NES. We had to pay user fees at Triton. We had to pay, when we had the Triton Haunted event, we had to pay police detail.
Yeah, why
We
wouldn't
had
they
to
have to
pay all
pay?
that stuff.
All right,
Well, say, police detail is something different, custodial staff is something different. For the use of that space, I hear where you're going with this. I'm just looking at other places in town that at one point in time didn't charge for use, like the library. Their space is available for local groups to use. And I know,
Are we
like the Byfield,
For fundraising purposes,
But are we?
what happened behind closed doors, people, you know, we wanted to distinguish between people using it to make money,
That's fundraising.
well, to profit from, how's that? You know, in lieu of having their own brick and mortar, to groups coming in to hold a small event. If we want to cross out no use of it or whatever, I'm fine with it. But the idea is have the
It's up to the
public,
committee. What does the committee want?
have the public have access to their building. And the idea is when you said,
I think when you start with fundraising, you cross another line. You're not
Okay.
using it for a birthday
Yep.
party. That's just me. You guys
Okay.
are the committee. You
Yep.
decide, talk amongst yourselves.
so if Sweet Paws Rescue wants to use the area for fundraising for their nonprofit
At no cost.
at no cost, do we want the at no cost?
well, there.
I think the question here isn't the question about who's gonna have to pay for the custodial care of the.
Right.
Right.
Actually, I think there's a different question, because we go back to the policy for the fields, that within that, embedded in that policy, is we ask people not to charge tickets or a fee to use charge tickets so say watch the game. The
Right.
idea is we don't want people making money by using our property. Now, how am I explaining it?
No, I understand what you're saying.
You know, it's one thing for the soccer teams to come in, play your game, have a good time. But to start charging tickets for people to watch and making money off of us, giving them use of the field. So the fundraising part, we can just take right out. People, citizens can use it, citizen groups can use it at no cost.
Well, you guys can talk about that. Actually, the question is who's gonna pay for the custodial?
Well, I guess either way, whether they're paying for it or not, who's gonna be responsible to pay for custodial staff? And it goes back to DPW.
Right, the regular cleaning. I believe in here it's embedded that it's left broom clean and left the way you basically found it.
Can we,
So it's not like
But
it's a
what if
mess.
they don't leave it like
So-
that?
can
Now
You know who they
extra-
are.
yeah, can we?
Yeah, but there's extra work involved now with the DPW.
Yeah, can we,
Like the deposit may be required?
Well, it's,
if we got rid of the at no cost and we put
Yeah.
at the discretion of the rec committee, isn't that the best way to do it? And if we have someone that messes up a place, we'll not run back again. And we have a good user.
I think it's the at no cost.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
if
issue.
we get rid of the, I mean, we could put a cost in there, but I was just thinking if we wrote it down as can apply to use of facility as a fundraising tool at the discretion of the rec committee or something to that.
well, maybe when we get down to the schedule of what the cost is, we can address it in there.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
yep.
So, what number is this, Mary?
This is JF9.
JF what?
9.
Right, we gotta come back to JF9. Remind me to go back to that.
I will-
Okay. Then, well, let me just put a comment in here. So this may be addressed in fee schedule. I'm gonna strike no cost, okay?
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay. Now, let's go down here. Okay, I'm on number 4, hours. Vendors or concessions operators, if contracted, can establish their own hours that are approved in writing by at least 2 members of the Recreation Committee. Why is a majority of the committee not required?
my going back to
Time sensitive.
time sensitive,
So why do you need 2 people?
probably
What if you
don't.
only have 1?
Could be, I was just trying to make it more inclusive, that there's a little conversation going on, that something like that shouldn't be in the moment that they need to expand it. But if it's, again, say somebody has the concession area and it's the second week of April, they want to extend their hours. And we're not going to be able to meet until, we could meet earlier. We could have an emergency meeting or reschedule a meeting. That can't happen.
So this is for hours outside of the regular schedule.
Yes, that's where it
Yes.
gets, so who's gonna have hours? What vendors are, well,
Well, isn't,
Can we not allow them to do that? Have hours outside of their
Whatever
hours
they
that
put
were
in for the
approved?
request, right?
yeah,
Like
if we
just-
can, if we could
Okay.
take away, they can establish their own hours, that might solve all of this.
Yeah, so
it has it here, right?
some of the thinking had
9 to
been,
4?
particularly in the fall, when it starts getting dark earlier, to alter their schedule. Or in the spring when practices start going later. Just trying to be flexible with, hey, there are changes in the times in which they may want to do it. Instead of being held to 4 to 6, they may want to extend it to 7 because now more teams are practicing. That's till 7.
So I think, Mark, you, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're trying to be forward-looking with this. And if, let's just say there's a lot of people using that and there's a lot of activity there, and the town does move forward and hires a vendor to go in there and contract and work concessions, like a real concessions booth. It says here, vendors can establish their own hours that are approved by 2 members of the committee. I think if you want to see growth of that, I think it's fine to leave it here, but I just think it should be the whole committee and not just 2.
Again, the issue is time sensitive.
Well, they gotta plan better.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think that's a little bit wishy-washy.
I think it should be the whole
Yep.
committee. And if they close early one night and they could have stayed late, well, they'll come back to the committee the next time and say, I need you to.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing
But
with
this
you.
is
Just the
also
idea is
only
we have 10
saying
we have 10
weekends, right?
What's that?
This is only saying weekends, right?
No, this is saying
Oh, no,
anytime.
no,
Why is the majority of the committee not
right
required?
below it. right.
Yeah.
It says the committee recommends that the concession stand is open spring and fall weekends.
Yes, but I'm going the one above it,
Oh, okay, all right.
the one above it, so we're gonna, what do you wanna do? Do you wanna make it do you wanna make it approved by the full committee, or do you wanna just
Full committee.
strike that?
Again, just so people understand, this is a 10-week schedule they're looking at. They put their application, we approve it. The next time we meet is typically 4 weeks later, so after the second week, they'll have 2 weeks, and then they get the approval for the final 6 weeks.
I just think it should be the whole committee. What do you
Okay.
guys think?
Well,
You
it
can-
says that they're establishing their own hours, so if they want their hours to be, I don't know, 8 to 8,
Yeah, they have to,
Then
I
we,
think they
they
should go.
would have
yeah.
submitted that and we would have
Yeah.
voted on it.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, it just shouldn't be
At
willy-nilly
their
about that.
discretion.
Yeah,
So this should be,
by approval of the committee.
this should be a majority of the committee. Okay. Extended time can be accommodated with the approval of any member of the rec committee, and if time does not conflict with prior reservations. Again, why not a majority? So this is the time sensitive thing, right?
yeah.
Okay. All requests must be and approvals must be in writing. What requests does this refer to? Request to extend time for concessions?
I
If
think that should
so, this should be stated. Also, to whom are the written requests submitted?
Meeting committee.
So that means they can't pick up the phone and call and say, I'm late. I'm gonna be here late. They have to
Well,
send
the-
an email. All requests.
Clearly, it's,
approved.
it is not clear. The idea is, I'm changing my hours. It's not a matter of, hey, I need extra hour today. It's, I'm looking at my schedule and I want to stay longer going forward. So it's not an immediate response necessary for a quick phone call. It's,
Okay.
hey, Mary, you know the vendor, hey, Mary, can we want to start staying open from, instead of 6 to 7, is that okay? Get it to me in writing, again, creating a paper trail, so that's not just, hey, I talked to Mark and he said it was okay.
Yeah, but if we're requiring,
So wouldn't it be better to say upfront,
Yes.
the hours, what's your window? You can always close earlier,
Yeah.
but so,
It should be in their application.
yeah,
So if they
so,
need to change the application, what is the process?
well, what I'm suggesting is that in their application, you put the max to max. And if you close at 7, you close at 7, but you have the permit till 8, as an example.
Okay.
So that there's no
In the beginning, you're asking for it all.
Yeah, so right up, it's like they're gonna be there from 8 to 8. Whether or not they're there from 10 to 3, the time is 8 to 8, if that's what they're doing. That's just my thought, but, you know,
Because I'm not disagreeing with you.
yeah, it's just a different thought.
And I'm trying to get out ahead of what we're doing, because the problems we have with the fields are going to be, could be replicated here,
Right.
right? So,
People reserving too much
Get ahead of it.
time, is that what you're saying?
yeah, I'm gonna get the concession for this amount, and I'm not gonna be there. And somebody else is saying, geez, I want to sell Triton Youth Soccer wants to sell Monday through Friday after practice, open it up for an hour for waters and snacks and whatnot. They can't because of the concession.
yeah, if they paid for the concession, they own it, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, this is what happened with the fields, and we've been pulling our hair out about the
So-
fields for a long time now.
Here's another question.
So, but if somebody's there from till 6, and this is, the spirit of this is to have them stay open till 7, it isn't the spirit of this to have, I guess what is the spirit of this paragraph? Is it to be accommodating to me, who's already the concession person?
Yes.
Or to allow
Somebody
Courtney
else
come in
access.
after 7 o'clock when I'm supposed to be gone at 6? So if
To
the
the
spirit of this
vendor,
is to be more forgiving and more flexible to me, who's the vendor, then just say 8 to 8.
Yeah, it's the vendor's responsibility to have
But
the
if
whole
it's,
block.
yeah, or if it's, hey, we want to get somebody else in, then that's a different spirit. I'm just trying to
The
understand
spirit
that.
of this paragraph is the vendor comes in, tries it for a period of time, and realizes the hours that they selected are not amicable to their business plan. And they want to alter it, because their contract would be from X to Y, that they're going to be open.
So
And
you
now they're
want them to
saying,
be nimble, but and not have to wait to come to the committee in another month?
and say, look, I need to extend, I wanted to do it from 4 to 6, I think I should go to 8 now.
Or I
Okay.
wanna go to, you know,
Or I need to,
4:30.
close up regularly, it's not working. You know, I'm not getting any business after 6 o'clock. And then we could say, okay, because otherwise, because they are signing an agreement to do something.
Right.
And if they're not providing the service that they agreed to do, even though we awarded them, we want to be able to work with them.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
we're not
think it should be
getting-
part of the application, but or the permitting process.
Okay.
That if they want to modify it, it makes sense that, that they come back and say, hey,
To the whole
this
group?
isn't, I think so.
Okay,
next
to
meeting.
the whole group.
So next meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so what are we doing?
We're doing
Written
the
written
majority.
in writing, approved by the rec committee. And that-
All requests and approvals must be in writing.
I think all requests for,
All requests for extensions or
or
schedule changes?
yes,
Schedule
schedule
changes, yeah.
changes.
Okay, so. All requests for schedule changes need to come before the rec committee? The full committee, right?
Well, the committee,
Yeah.
because we can't,
Okay.
this full gets into.
No, I have another question. Under vendors or concessions operator if contracted. If we contract, being the town of Newbury or the rec committee on behalf of the town of Newbury, contracts with a concession, are we gonna allow the contractor to establish their own hours, or are we going to dictate what hours we want them open?
There are two, if I remember this correctly, concessions are somebody who's basically operating out of the building to provide services. And a vendor may be like the Michelle offering coffee.
Okay, so this
Comes in.
isn't gonna be a staff member for the town of Newbury to do that,
To do what?
to act as a concessions operator? That
No,
was my
no.
question.
The way this is written, it's not a entity run by any entity of the
Of the town of Newbury, okay.
So then wouldn't you go back to JF 8, because this is talking about a bidding qualified
It goes out to,
for a concession operator,
right.
but you're saying that it's not? I guess
No.
I'm confused.
It goes, there are three groups that would potentially use it. One is a concession. Who's it, RMAC, who does the concessions at Boston Garden. They come in and said, we want to run this. We're going to pay you X number of dollars to run it, and put it out to bid. Or the town could put it out to bid every time to see if anybody wants to run it. Nobody wants to. A vendor was intended to be somebody who wants to run a small coffee shop, a taco stand, a ice cream truck in the area, and they could set their own hours. And then it would be the non-profit groups of the lacrosse, the soccer, if they want to do it to raise their own money, that'd be a third group. There'd also be access to the building.
So you're okay with a contractor or a concessions contractor establishing their own hours? As long as you approve them in writing?
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
sorry.
No, that's okay. Okay, so number 2, reservation and application process. I'm gonna read the policy here.
Yep.
The Recreation Committee will accept reservation applications for the field house and basketball court on an ongoing basis. It will be the goal of the Recreation Committee to determine the status of the application at the Recreation Committee meeting following the submission of the application. The secretary will note the decision of the committee in the minutes, and the applicant will be notified by email within 1 week after said meeting. Okay, that must be her language. Then she puts, if the applicant is not present during the meeting, the secretary would still note the action of the committee in the minutes.
Yep.
Okay, we do that anyway, right?
Yep.
Okay. 2, then she struck, if the applicant is, yeah, she struck that, okay. Organized or regular use of the facility by group shall require a field house consent form. Include the link, oh, okay. So do you still have that, or does that now go to my rec? I don't know that answer, I'm asking that
Wait
question.
a second.
This is section 2, under paragraph 1, it's subsection 1.
One.
Or JF 14.
Yep.
My guess would be in my rec.
It should be Myrick, right?
Yep.
Okay, so,
Shall require submission of an application via my rec for,
So they're saying
Link.
put the URL.
can she
here.
link to that, my rec?
There's someplace in this doc,
Yeah, there's a way to put the URL. right?
yeah.
there,
So is the field house consent form, is that form now obsolete? I guess that's my question.
no, there is, we need to create that. Because we have no field house request form. The idea was to distinguish between a permit, so we don't, because we start using the permit too often and people might get confused about,
What they're permitted to use.
yeah, we got a permit. Well, that's why we're trying to distinguish the name, so that's that part.
So do we need another form, or can the?
Yes.
Or does the MyRec solve that form problem now?
Well, it depends what we need it for. I mean, my rec is for scheduling and streamlining
documents.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe they need the form and then they upload it in MyRec? I don't know how MyRec works.
I think that might be a possibility.
Like they do with the,
Yeah.
quorum
Yeah,
forms
right.
and stuff?
Yeah,
I think
so
that's
we're-
fine,
we're-
it's just a matter of
Yeah.
what is the field house consent.
And that's what number, on your version, JF 14, is include the link where the form can be downloaded and all that
Okay,
stuff.
so I have Julie please link this.
But we need to create that.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, 2, the consent form applicant will designate a responsible adult who shall act as a site manager. Right, she has no problem with that. 3, payment. Specify how and where a form and payment must be submitted.
And what is the required payment amount?
Okay, payment, if required, must be received prior to acceptance of the consent form. What does that mean?
We want your cash up front before
Yeah,
we even
basically.
talk to you.
Before we give you your permit, you need to put, at one point, we had a 50% down. But we want, before we approve it, we want the money in our hand.
Prior to approval, oh, acceptance, okay.
Acceptance, because we have been in the past approving it conditionally,
Right,
because we can't get all the paperwork until the paperwork's in. Then it becomes official, so we want to make sure the money's in before we get too far, before we end up blocking stuff off.
Because the people we've been dealing with before have been paying on a regular basis, so we don't have to worry about it. But this opens up different,
So payment, if required, must be received prior to acceptance of the consent form. I think I'm confused by the word acceptance.
Right.
Acceptance meaning
By the committee, right?
submitted into the MyRec form or approved by the committee.
I would say
Approved.
Payment, if required, must be received prior to,
approval
approval.
of the rec committee.
so not, I want to strike acceptance of the consent form, but
Yeah.
approval of the committee?
Yep.
Okay. Prior to
The challenge is.
recreation committee approval,
Yeah.
Okay.
sorry. Okay. Access to the field house is prohibited until, all right, that's fine. All right, now she says specify how and where form and payment must be submitted.
Again, part of the, I wouldn't necessarily use the word MyRec, because that's, because if we ever change vendors, then
Right.
we have to change all of this. Our electronic,
Online electronic
electronic
submission.
located on the recreation website. Someplace in here that has been stated.
Okay, payment if required must be received prior to a recreation, all right, committee approval. Okay, specify how and where must be submitted. So, if we go down here,
Yeah, the reservation portal on the committee's webpage.
okay, all payments must be made through the, say that again, Mark?
Reservation portal
Yep.
on the committee's webpage.
All right, so I'll put it on the committee's webpage, and then I'll put in parentheses, found here, and I'll have Julie link it, okay?
Yep.
Yes. Reservation portal.
You like that phrase?
I like that phrase.
That's good.
I stayed up 3 nights trying to think of that today.
Reservation portal.
Now, the question, it doesn't show it here, does it? No. Town council wanted a 4A under that with the certificate of insurance. And the problem is, and this is what we've had in the past, the assumption is it's a organized group that has an insurance binder. If I am a group of the 10 people who meet regularly to play Ultimate, I'm not an I don't have insurance to cover myself, so we can't supply an insurance policy.
Okay, so Which one do you want now?
It's actually 4A, it doesn't show up on yours. And it's a standard verbiage, but the question is, we're not having a way in which an individual or a small group can provide us with assurance and liability protection if they don't have an insurance. So I want to go play with 10 of my friends who are coming in from New York, Ultimate Disc. I make a reservation. I don't have insurance.
The town has master plan to cover.
I understand that, but we asked, along those lines, we asked the soccer clubs to all provide insurance.
Right.
So the town council asked that we include that in this language for the use of the fields, and I'm suggesting that we don't have a vehicle in place in the policy for those who do not carry insurance.
So if it's a resident of the town or their friends or whatever, because this has come up before with
Yeah.
town council, we carry a master plan. Somebody trips and falls on a sidewalk, any of that stuff, we have it. It's when it's an organized group
I'm
or
not being
people.
clear. I know where you're going with that, and there's two separate issues with giving people permission to use property. If we don't charge a fee, there's a certain accommodations that are provided in Mass statute that covers things. However, again, you give me permission to play Ultimate Disc with a group of people on the field. I don't carry insurance. We used to require people to sign a waiver.
Yeah, like with when they had the
Yep.
car thing down here, we had to have everybody sign a waiver.
Sign a waiver
Yep.
to release any liability. How effective it is, we don't know, don't care. But we've done steps to protect
Yeah.
the liability
yeah.
aspects of the town. How do we integrate something like that? For example, if somebody wanted to play drums in the field house. And
You
this
know
goes
what?
back to the cleaning.
I think that we'll just let this policy go through
Yep.
and then see what they say, and I'll ask that question
Okay.
separately.
I'm
Because-
lost on where this line item came up.
It's not in here, I think he
Didn't.
has
Yeah.
it.
Okay, all right, because I'm at number 5.
Yeah.
I'm at number 5,
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
JF 17,
Okay.
we segued a little bit.
Yeah, so is the town covered?
It's not that is the town covered, because the town is covered because we have the insurance. There's additional liability, there's two ways the town is covered. One is if we don't charge people to use our property.
Mm-hmm.
There's this, particularly for like youth sports, there's a special statute in Massachusetts regulations that says, look, you can't sue the town unless there's negligence involved.
Right,
Okay, and so it's how the trustees of reservations allow people to walk their property. You pay for parking, you don't pay to walk on the property.
right,
If I trip and fall, they have a certain level of, I'm going to use the word immunity, it's not the right legal term, but there's a certain level of protection, providing there is no negligence and criminal activity that occurred,
right,
that I can't sue them,
right,
because they're giving it to us, letting me access it for free.
yeah. I
If
think
we-
that the same thing pertains to the town of Newbury, but anyways, go ahead.
Well, the town has its own liability insurance.
So doesn't the trustees, I'm sure. They have to have insurance.
There are different statutes, and I'm not a lawyer, I used to live with a lawyer, I've worked for law firms. There are different levels of protection. And what the town administrator had asked before was to have all the players, when we had lacrosse, sign a waiver. In order
If they weren't
to
covered?
say that they have, that for lack of better terms, we're covered.
Okay, so I need to know if waivers are needed.
For those who do not carry insurance.
Okay,
Right? Let's see if I have that.
okay. I'll ask.
Yeah.
Should we,
I think that's beyond our scope.
yeah, should we go back to
That's why we-
JF 17?
Yeah, that's why we have town council.
Yep.
So we're on 5, is that the number you're on?
Yes,
The
5.
reference
Yes,
to
number
use?
5.
Okay. Any violation of the permit terms, conditions, and/or limitations. This is the first reference to a permit. What
Yeah.
is this permit and how does it get issued?
Should we go back to reservation application process and put the recreation committee will accept reservation applications for the field house and basketball court permits on an ongoing basis, and that will cover that.
Well, earlier we called them the consent forms.
So,
So this should read consent form.
okay,
So-
any violation of the consent form,
Rules.
consent
Whatever
form
it is, it needs to
terms.
be consistent.
Okay, consent form terms,
Okay, so it's just the word that's
yep,
bugging her.
yep.
So this should read consent.
Because there are other permits here, no future,
Yeah.
it's, if
Any
you go back to number 3, it says no future permits will be issued to.
So any violation of the consent form terms, conditions, and/or limitation may be grounds, okay.
But she's gonna have to go through this, because there's field permit a
Written down
bunch
there.
of times.
Yeah,
Field
that's,
field permit is different than the consent form. The idea was permit and try to distinguish between the different areas, so we,
No, I
No, no, it
understand, but
doesn't-
in this
yeah.
case, it's
It-
under events.
Number
and
3.
And it's,
number 3.
yeah,
It says right here, it says payment, if required, must be received prior to the acceptance of this consent form. Access to the field house is prohibited until a full payment has received. No future permits will be issued to a group organization. So,
so just making it all consistent.
Do I have to change anything else?
probably not.
Okay, so then it says, no refund, how about of the fee? We just remove the word permit,
Where is that?
Yes,
yes,
the next, right.
right, the next sentence.
yep.
No refund of the fee will be granted and future applications may be denied. We're gonna get rid of permits, okay?
Yep.
And future applications may be denied. Okay, by submitting an application, all applicants agree to adhere to the town and recreation policies for facility use. Okay. General rules and expectations. So she's asking, is this just for the field house?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's call it field house general rules and expectations. Okay,
We could, all right, yeah. Should we do field house and basketball court? Or would that be a problem?
No, the children must be supervised, and some of it is.
well, this is just the field house policy.
Yeah, let's say field house then.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Now we go down to 6. Damage caused during its use is the responsibility of the user's applicants. Does the application state that the applicant accepts responsibility for damage? Is there an insurance or bond requirement for large groups?
So to the insurance, again, some of these groups may not have it, that's why I have the waiver. Since we don't have a application for this, we just make sure that it's part of the application.
So, is the application the consent form? Is that what you mean?
Yep,
It's part of the application process, yes.
Yep. the consent form.
So on the consent form, we have to make sure that it says,
Right,
the applicant accepts responsibility for all
Right.
damage.
Yep.
Now, okay, so now. Okay, is there an insurance or bond requirement for large groups? The answer is yes, right?
No, no, because not all large groups are gonna have,
Large groups should, right?
well.
They should
If you wanted to have, if I wanted to have the Ultimate Disc have a meeting in there, we don't carry any insurance. A group wants to come in and play cards on Tuesday nights there.
Well, that wouldn't be like a large group. I think that the spirit of that is it like Sweet Paws, and that's my interpretation of that question, of a large group.
Yeah, but
Maybe
like,
I'm wrong.
there's only a
What's
certain
the-
amount of people you can fit in that building, so.
Yeah.
Just,
I don't know if you need to have an insurance.
I don't think so either, no.
Yeah.
No.
Again, that's the idea of the waiver.
Yep.
That whoever signs up for that for that use, they're taking full responsibility for
Yep.
their
so
acquaintances.
the waiver would be part of the application
Yes.
process.
Yep.
Say that again, Courtney?
The waiver
Will be part
will
of
be
the
part of the
application.
overall
Okay.
application process.
No insurance or bond requirement is needed.
Or in lieu of,
Waiver,
in lieu of waiver, release forms need to be signed.
well, that is a.
Not release, acceptance of responsibility. But just so that everybody's clear that when you apply for this, you're accepting the responsibility.
That's gonna be on your consent form.
Yes.
Acceptance, applicant accepts responsibility for all damage will be added to the consent form. So no insurance or bond requirement is needed. Waivers will be requested as needed.
Not as
A waiver
needed.
will be part of the application
Yeah,
process.
it's always
Okay.
needed.
Waivers will be requested as part of the application,
Requested or required?
will be required. As part of the application process. I don't know how you're gonna address this, but.
So I can only speak for the Council on Aging, but we have everybody sign a waiver if they're participating in our yoga class or our stretch class
Yeah,
over
it's
there.
like you
Oh, you
either
do.
sign it or you don't do it.
You don't participate.
Right.
Okay,
I agree with that, but the hard part is, I mean, it'll then be incumbent on the applicant, the individual, to make sure all the future other individuals sign it. And there's no way that I'm gonna check.
Can you do it as I wonder if you can ask town council, can you have like an umbrella waiver for
Well,
anyone?
that's, I take responsibility for all
For
that
the
stuff.
group.
Yes.
The individuals
So not
That's
every
it.
individual who's participating, but
request to sign.
as a group, whoever attends this event.
whoever has their name on the,
Not even that. If I'm having an event, you're all covered. You were there, you're covered. That I have to take responsibility.
Covered, I don't know.
But the idea is, not everybody's, you're not gonna be able to get everybody's signature. You may not,
right,
even as the organizer.
right.
So the idea is, hey, if I'm taking the application here, I'm just gonna speak for these people. I don't know how to handle that. But I know how hard it was when I had to do it
You know
for
what?
the ultimate.
If someone,
Let town council
yeah,
do
if
that.
someone is asking, requesting for a permit, then that would be their responsibility to have.
To notify everyone.
Yeah, and have sign-off waivers. Whether they
Agreed.
do or they
But
don't.
who's gonna check to make sure everybody signed it?
Yeah, I don't know if we can do
Yeah.
But maybe town council can put a language in that waiver that says it's that person's responsibility who signs the
Yeah.
waiver.
To inform and all that.
Yeah.
crap.
Right, so then it takes the town out of it.
Okay. Changing where it says selectmen to select board, okay. And then,
That's in two spots, do you see that?
yeah, I saw it in both spots. Okay, addition to tier, current annual recurring tenants. Should this be users rather than tenants? Yes.
Yes.
Should not be tenants.
Yes,
What number is
we're
That's
number
20.
FJ20, or reservation application process number 7, other.
So in addition to tier, current annual recurring users will have the first option to use. Okay. Documents demonstrating residency requirements for second level preference if requested. Why doesn't the field house have an insurance requirement?
We just talked about.
Yeah.
Well, what's my response?
If,
I think that
just
was the
strike
question.
that, if requested,
Yeah, I'd strike it.
strike the if requested
Okay.
part.
Well, the documents for demonstrating residency, because one group was, at one point was free if they were a resident, because the taxpayers paid for the building. The idea is here, if you need to use it like at the library, I don't know if the firehouse in Byfield charged to use their open space or any other entity. I know we used to use NES for free for certain events.
So her question is, why are the criteria for requesting insurance? What are the criteria for requesting insurance certificate?
You'd probably go back to the,
If they're an organization that has it, if they're if they're incorporated, they would have, they'd be, I don't want to say required, but they would typically have it. But an individual.
Well, how about, don't you ask everybody if they have an insurance certificate? If they don't, they have to sign the waivers? Is that how that works?
No, because we know that at the current use of property, we know they are all organized and, or are incorporated, and therefore would have to have insurance, or not have to, have insurance, and they provide it. We have yet to have any entity use the, they did it. The only entity that didn't have it, actually they did provide it, and the town wanted more, was the Ultimate Disc, when they came in for 3 or 4 Sundays.
And did they sign waivers?
I had them sign waivers,
Yeah. So down here it
Yeah.
says, a certificate of insurance naming the town of Newbury as additionally insured partly is required. Simply naming the town as a certificate holder is insufficient, however, the insurance. Yeah, this is standard language.
Yep.
Okay, so her question, what are the criteria for requesting insurance certificate? What's my response?
I have no answer for that.
Incorporated organizations.
Yeah,
I think you ask anybody that
Right.
wants to use the field house, do you
If-
have insurance and
right.
is the town of Newbury named? And if they're not, then they have to sign a waiver.
yep,
Okay.
So then you strike if requested, like you said.
Right.
yep.
Okay, so, okay,
That will cover that.
so striking if requested, and what are the criteria for requesting a certificate? So all users, or all applicants, will be asked to produce
Certificate of
a
insurance or,
certificate
of insurance, or individual waivers, I would assume, from applicant
Okay, period.
and users.
If no insurance, waivers will be signed, right?
Yep.
Period, okay. Why doesn't the field house have an insurance requirement? Strike if requested, it does. It does have a requirement. Okay. Now we go down here to 2, quarry. A letter from the organization stating all volunteers, coaches have been quarried, checked, and
23.
approved by the organization.
JR 23.
Again, the Corey, did you require when parents did the PTA, when they did the Winter Festival?
The way quarries work,
Uh,
let me think, no, yes, you're right.
As
The
a
way
Corey
quarries-
officer, I'm very familiar with it. My question is, when the PTA did the Christmas, what do they call it, the Christmas, we used to sell, kids would make gifts and we would open up the NES and you'd have a number of Christmas winter festivals.
Yeah, I remember that.
Did all the parents have a Corey then?
I think if you had, I remember being, as a volunteer in the school, I had to be quarried.
Okay,
Yeah,
volunteer in a
school.
school is not a PTA.
Yeah,
Well, I did the PTA at the middle and high school. I didn't do the
Okay.
elementary school PTA.
Even then, but did all, my question is, not as a volunteer in the school,
Yeah.
but as a PTA person, when you walked into that PTA meeting, did you have it?
I don't know because we were all parent volunteers, so we were all
Well,
quarried anyways.
Yeah, but the sports have it because it's a Massachusetts statute.
Yeah,
Schools have it because you're always working with kids.
right.
Some of these people would not be working with kids.
kids, yeah.
Like
So
we-
I thought a quarry, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, I thought you had to be, you had to have a Cory check if you were gonna be left alone with children. But if you were never gonna be left alone with children, there was gonna be like a group of
It
people
depends
there.
on it depends on your position. Now, if you work for Home for Little Wanderers, they require it. I'm gonna babysit my neighbor's child, I don't need to have to be Cory. Cories are a service to identify, and at the discretion of the person seeking that information, whether they want to hire the person. And I'll give you an example. I worked in a place where we had a person who had a motor vehicle homicide, and it was on her Cory, yet she worked with kids. We set up parameters to make sure that she was never put in a position to be alone. It's standard practice not to be alone most. I know Triton Youth Soccer and lacrosse and baseball, you don't transport kids, for many of them.
All right, so when you go in the My Rec stuff, and I heard you mention they have to upload a Cory. Why can't they just do it to this too?
They can. If it's a youth group,
I do Corys on all my volunteers,
because you're working with elderly.
elderly.
Yeah,
Well,
But-
because you're saying specifically kids, like.
with kids, with elderly. But if I'm the Elks Club, and I want to use this, I'm not going to Cory my people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
If-
Jerry
if-
doesn't Cory his staff.
I think it should be as applicable.
If necessary or
Right.
whatever, yeah.
Cory, a letter from the organization saying all volunteers have been Cory
So you take out coaches.
checked and approved by the,
If
As
applicable.
applicable.
Yeah.
yeah, so let's take out coaches, all volunteers,
Yep.
or how about all volunteers and staff?
You see, I
Right.
get hung up on all volunteer staff, if applicable. I wouldn't even say that, because you're implying with that they need it. If applicable, will be submitted. I don't know how to word it, it's just, some places aren't gonna be, like, let's look at the person selling coffee.
Yeah,
Are they required to have a Cory, and who pays for it?
But she's in her own trailer. She's not in
Yeah,
a
but she's
franchise.
working, you know,
she's not
But
working
she's
with
working,
this.
but she,
Well, we're-
but I think the point of this is, these are the required documents
For
to
somebody
reserve
in
the
a-
field house.
our
And
building.
they're listing a Cory, but that's not always required.
Yeah,
right.
so
So
if applicable,
as applicable,
And to play devil's advocate, who makes it applicable?
When is
The
the
organization.
When is the
Town
Cory, when is the Cory,
that's
when is
right.
it required on My Rec? It's required for reserving,
I guess, well, that's if reserving, we're putting in a request for any reservation.
If you're gonna work with kids, you need to have Cory checked.
And so far,
everything.
the organizations do work with kids
And
and
they all
sports and
have
stuff,
it.
and then
Yes.
you guys have the proof of insurance and the Cory for the.
Well, can I just kind of throw something out there? Like, I had someone reach out to me who asked to utilize the field house as just a resident in the town. He wants to practice music. And he thinks that would be a great place to do it. He doesn't need a Cory, he's just gonna use the field house with him and two other guys playing music.
yeah. So
Right, so
if there's not kids or people that are as old as I am, they don't need a Cory.
Have been Cory checked and approved by the organization per the organization's
Standards,
policies.
policy.
Because it's up to the organization to.
Because not everyone who's gonna use this is an organization, like my
Yeah.
guy wants to just use
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
He doesn't need a Cory, right?
No.
If you
If
have-
needed, so we're just gonna add,
If
no
applicable,
Cory
yeah.
letter is necessary for field house. I'm gonna put Corys are necessary. No, that's not what I wanna say. Corys are required if working with children or the elderly.
Yep.
Well, again, devil's advocate. The person selling coffee in the concession stand has her daughter working for her. Does she need to do a Cory?
No.
Well,
If she has her daughter working for her, she doesn't have to have it.
I agree. But see, when we get so specific about when we need it, and
All right,
who's,
so what do you want me to put here? No Cory letter necessary for the field house. Well, how am I supposed to respond?
So,
It's the same, no,
can we just put if applicable or if needed and then see how she responds to that? Because that is a legal
Right.
determination that we can't make. Because we're going back to the situation, if a mother brings her daughter or, you know,
and then.
So who pays for the quarry now?
Well, it depends on if you are a nonprofit, you can apply for a waiver. If you are, I don't know, if you have to pay for it, but town
I don't know if
entities
the
don't
town,
have
I
to
don't think the town pays for that.
pay
Who
for
does the
it.
quarries, the police?
I do.
No. the
Well, I
quarry
run
is
the
done-
quarry.
Okay. The quarry is done by a quarry officer. Quarry officer sends it to I-Quarry, which is the state entity
It's online, you fill it out
That's-
online.
Yeah.
that you do it, and the state gives you the report back.
You put in the person's information, and then they send you a report back.
And that report, even if they are
All right,
convicted
so
of.
Mark, let me ask you this question. How does it read in the field house policy? I mean, not in the field house policy, in the field use policy, quarry checks. Do you remember that? We should just mimic that same language.
Right. The requirements for the field.
And I-
It's required, but that's because right now all we're doing is youth sports.
youth sports. So-
And and they are required by the state to have a quarry on them.
So the ultimate frisbee people, because they're all adults, did not need a quarry.
So I feel like if Corey is not required to use the field house.
I don't know.
How can I put it? I understand the need to protect the town for it. However, the cumbersomeness of it and the practicality of it is very difficult.
All right, let's do that then. Let's just get rid of line 2.
I'm looking at the field house policy to see where it is.
Or we should say, organizations working,
Okay, any organization or entity that provides activities or programs to children 18 years of age or under must provide the Recreation Department with written documentation that the entity or organization conducted a quarry check on all volunteers, employees, as required by Massachusetts general laws. This must be on the organization's letterhead and signed by the president and quarry officer. Do we want to snitch that language? Is that
If it makes
fine?
the town council happy, we could just insert that part.
Or get rid of the
Or get rid of the Corey
quarry,
requirement.
get rid of
Yeah.
line 2.
I like it in line too.
I do too.
Yeah,
It's.
I don't think it's needed.
I don't think it's needed either.
Okay, no field house no quarry is needed.
This is why I drink. I just want everyone to know that. Just want to put that.
We're almost done, we're almost done.
Policies or what?
I don't know, we have.
Copies of
Oh, God.
non-profit documents, if applicable, must be included with the application. What about the field house? This is a field house policy, I don't
Yeah,
understand that
yeah, it is a
question.
field house policy.
Is that just to prove that they're a nonprofit?
It's,
I just think that the question is,
I'm just gonna put yes.
yeah, right.
Okay. In
That's
the
a good
event
answer.
a renter does not follow the established procedures, okay, what are the established procedures?
Well, you also want to take out renter, because aren't we changing that to
Right.
user?
Yeah.
User.
If the user does not follow
Whatever you had before.
Consent.
In the event a user
the rules of the consent form,
does not follow the rules of the consent form,
Yeah.
cooking with gas now.
a written warning would be issued.
Follow the rules of the consent form. A written warning will be issued.
You can take out permit,
And/or,
whatever that
whatever that
document is.
language was before. Don't use permit.
Yeah, change language.
Consent form.
application can be, or not application.
Yeah,
Written warning will be issued and/or approval can be revoked.
Yeah, just take out permit.
Yeah.
Application should be addressed to the Town of Newbury Recreation Committee and signed by team league representative. Where and how is the application submitted?
Mark's verbiage on the,
Reservation, town's reservation, recreation committee's reservation portal.
Let me go
But are you
find that.
leaving it at team and league representatives or
We're-
applicant? Can you
I
just say
feel like it should be
applicant?
like organization.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
applicant?
Applicant, just applicant?
Yeah, applicant, yeah.
Okay, let me go
Signed
Stitch's
by the
language, wait a
applicant.
minute, that's up here.
Yeah, applicant is perfect.
All right, where was that?
I
Here we
could
go.
just-
All payments must be made through, let me just snitch that.
Recreation portal.
Okay. Application should be addressed to the Town of Newbury Recreation Committee and signed by team league representatives.
So strike that and put applicant, signed by applicant.
Signed by applicant. Get rid of team lead representative.
Signed by applicant. Period. Then I'm gonna do, all payments must be made through the reservation portal on the committee's webpage found here. Okay?
Did, I'm sorry, I said to come back to the second page, JF9. Did we strike the no cost fundraising tool, or did we leave in no cost? I don't remember, not that, sorry. It's on like the second page.
I thought we struck no cost.
I think we struck no cost, we were gonna address it in that thing down below. Let me go
Okay.
back and look, hold on.
I don't know, but I'm gonna say yes, please.
I
What
think we
page
did
is that on,
too.
2?
Yeah, but I said, yeah,
I did have it
I
circled.
didn't know that
you
was.
had it separate too.
You guys had it circled, I struck it out.
So is page 2, page 6, or?
Yes,
Page,
yes.
I'm sorry, page, not page 6, not page 6. the
There's a
other
6
page.
at the top though.
Yeah,
No,
the
no,
other-
no.
Not that
Oh, no,
six,
it
the other
is.
6.
No, it
it's
doesn't have,
not, it's the
it
next
doesn't have a
one.
6 at all.
It
Yeah, the
says,
one after the
no,
one with the 6,
it says
yeah.
can apply to use the facility as a fundraising tool at no cost, is that what you,
Yes.
I struck it.
Okay, good.
Can apply to use the facility as a fundraising tool, period. And then I have a comment, maybe addressed in the fees schedule.
Okay,
That was 53 minutes ago. Just saying.
Yeah.
so in the fee schedule, even though, where is the fee schedule?
It's coming.
Okay,
Okay,
We're
so,
almost there.
okay, all right.
we are almost
Because I
there.
knew there was something that we had to look back to look
Next,
forward
there's
for.
2 pages left.
Ah, okay.
Now we
Does
have,
this table even,
Okay.
this is for the field house, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
this whole table talks about like applications on April 1st, isn't this a rolling thing?
No, I think it's this one.
yeah, it
But
looks
see how
like,
this table
Yeah.
is here? Is that
do we
supposed
wanna
to be-
just delete all that because
The
it
table,
doesn't,
yeah.
It doesn't make sense for this.
it doesn't, yeah. Can we delete that whole table?
Yep.
Do you know how much time we spent on the table?
Well, no, but
That's
No,
fine.
I want to get rid of it.
but
the
we
field
needed
use.
it for the other thing.
Yeah, I know,
But not
We
for
don't
yeah.
need it for this.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the recreation committee and subcommittee will meet within 7 business days. Applications not submitted online must be timed. Do we want to eliminate that whole thing? Because you don't want to start with having 2 ways to get these things, right? You only
Yep.
want them one way, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay,
Where are we?
above the
8.
table.
8.
Number 8.
Applications not
Uh,
submitted online.
You want them all submitted online.
Yes, well, again, it's just,
Okay, so I'm gonna strike all of that, this whole table.
yes. And number 8,
Yeah, applications not submitted online, okay?
Yeah, just, yeah.
Okay,
Get rid of
see,
all of it.
everybody see that?
and number 7 can go.
That's applications. You want the recreation committee and or subcommittee will meet within 7 business days.
No,
No,
that
That-
should go,
Okay, that's gonna go too?
please.
that was part of the field,
Okay,
For the field house.
for the field, not the
Delete.
field house.
Yep.
Okay, in submitting an application, the applicant recognizes the possibility of personal injury associated with the use of playing fields and related facilities and hereby releases discharge. Do you want me to get rid of that
Wouldn't this-
too?
No,
That's like
that-
a waiver,
That's
isn't
their waiver.
That's their
And then-
waiver.
So this should be the
Well,
waiver.
it's not their waiver because they're not signing this, but it's in our policy to say that they acknowledge it.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, okay. So
But
leave
it says
that.
with the use of playing and related facilities.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
I think that's okay still.
okay.
Then you have, we'll sign the actual waiver.
Right.
Yes.
But that's
It
in
is
essence.
strongly encouraged that applicants have a representative present at the meetings when schedules are being reviewed. Failure to have a representative to clarify questions or concerns present could result in the committee deemed the application incomplete and therefore unable to process.
I think
Will
that
we
had to do
keep
with
that?
the fields,
I
right?
think that's okay to keep.
Yeah.
But again, if that's someone using it one time, you really want.
Well,
Well,
you-
it's just strong, it just says it's strongly encouraged.
That way, if we have questions and they can't be
I think
answered,
that's
we don't
okay.
have
I
to,
think
So then
it's
should that be listed as number 7?
whatever number it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, 7.
I guess the point is, again, it goes to fields as well.
Yep.
Look, if you're not here to answer questions, I'm sorry.
We can't approve it.
We may not be able to, but if we have a question, and we tend to have a question or two.
Always.
Sometimes three.
Okay, so that's gonna be number 7.
Yeah.
But this formatting's all messed up. Julie's
Yeah,
gonna have to
that's
fix
why,
that.
yeah, there shouldn't be a 2 there.
Okay.
It might be
And then
number
it goes to
7.
number, and then it goes to.
It may end up being an 8 by the time we're done, but.
Okay, now it says 2, playing fields, basketball court, and other equipment requirements.
Like pickleball stuff.
Well,
But this
Pickleball.
is talking about the field house, right?
Yep.
Well, no, because we've moved from the field house to part 2, where the field house should be part 1. No. Where we put
So
field
this isn't
house?
just a field house policy?
No, this is to try to cover everything.
Yeah.
Because if you go,
Oh.
there's a
it's called
page,
Field house policy V4,
I see.
town council comments, 12/20/2022.
Field house. playing
So
field.
then take out playing fields and just go field house, replace that with field house and
Basketball court and
basketball court.
other equipment requirements, want me to get rid of that?
No, we could, you could say field house and basketball court and other,
can I make a suggestion? Read through it to make sure you don't want to exclude field house, because I think some of these are
right now it's being excluded.
it's all included, such as the, if you go back to number 3, soccer goals are not included.
Soccer
Number-
and goal nets are private property and can be
Yes,
relocated,
that's field
removed
stuff,
as
so you
needed.
can incorporate a bigger general, hey, this is trying to cover as much of the stuff as possible with,
But is that in the other policy?
Yeah, no, this is really
No.
confusing.
That's not in the other, in
I
the,
don't believe, too many papers in front of me.
no, I don't have a copy of this either.
The headings are now, I'm confused with all the headings.
Yes. Because,
Yeah, because this also went right to the field use.
So let me ask you this question. If the equipment are private property that don't belong to the town of Newbury,
yeah,
why is it in our policy?
to let people know that it's not our property.
But it doesn't matter because it's not our property. So our policy shouldn't reflect somebody else's things.
Yeah, but
I think the point of this particular line was the permit holder, you know,
Don't expect it.
assumes responsibility for leaving the grounds in the condition they were found.
Wait,
So can we permit, how about users are allowed, well, this all has to do with the policy, this has to do with the playing fields, and it has nothing to do with the field house.
Well, I think
There
it can
was-
be applicable to the field house and basketball court. It's essentially just saying
yeah,
to
for some
be-
reason that came, I don't know how number 2 got into it, unless we wanted to incorporate.
It's
that.
essentially just saying the user is responsible for leaving the grounds / equipment in the condition they were
So
found.
do we want, this really isn't a field house policy.
No,
it's
it's
a-
all-
It's
it
a
looks
rec
like-
field policy. Do
It's-
we want to take this number 2, all of this out completely and put that in another policy?
Well, I think it can be part of the consent form.
Ah,
Have we done that yet?
no, that's
No.
not tonight, Alicia.
So,
Yeah, it's-
this is what I think we should do, because obviously, I think we're all getting a little maxed out. I think the revisions that we've done so far are solid.
Yeah.
If they go back through it, make those revisions and then format it, because
Yeah,
Yeah, I
think
the
that
headings
really-
are all messed
Can
up.
point, yeah, if anything,
because it may have value, and I don't wanna strike too much, because because it's easier to.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah, so she has 3 questions that we haven't answered, can we just answer those last 2
Yep,
questions?
Yep.
And then I'll give it to Julie, and then maybe, well, do you want to have another meeting? An additional meeting to hash this only agenda item?
Finish it up.
Finish it up, and then we can, otherwise, you're gonna push it out till May. You won't be able to
Yeah, I don't
use
wanna
the field house until this is done. And you're gonna have people come.
No.
All right, so as part of the application, does applicant agree to reimburse for police and fire details as determined by the select board, police or fire chief?
The answer is not our call. That's a separate contract that they have with those entities. If we say you need a fire permit, they need to go to the fire department, pay for it and get the permit.
yeah, because we ran into this before and it became a whole thing. But this almost looks something, okay, yep.
All right, I think we should put here, if public safety, police, fire, EMT is required, right?
Yep,
Additional fees will be required, period.
yep,
The select board, the rec committee, the police chief, or the fire chief are never gonna say, oh, you don't have to pay.
Right.
Because they're all union workers and it's all contractual.
Well, I don't make that assumption. That's up for them
Yeah,
to make the
so
decision.
let's take all that out. If public safety is required, additional fees may apply.
Yes.
Additional fees may apply. Okay. Period.
okay.
All right, the other part to that is the Recreation Committee will not approve an application that requires additional services until a request for service has been submitted and accepted to the appropriate authority. She's putting the cart before the horse. We're not gonna be able to, we're gonna see the application. We're not gonna discuss it, and if it needs, we don't have a vehicle to determine whether police or fire are needed until after we've gotten the application and we discuss it.
And
So-
actually, police and fire determine that.
When they determine, here
Yeah, yeah, let me
are
hear
the
it.
steps. The step is, we get the application.
Mhm.
We don't discuss it until we come to the meeting to approve it. So we're not gonna be able to say, oh, you're gonna need this.
So the way public policies work at the select board level, when somebody wants to use something, like a liquor license, for instance, they have to go get the police sign off, the fire sign off, and everything. All of that has to be done
I
before it
understand.
comes to us.
Yep.
But we don't have a vehicle in place to ensure that happens.
But is that up to us?
But we don't make that determination. That's why the language was sort of vague, like
What
if it's
number are
needed.
you on?
The same, I think, right?
Yeah.
JF 27.
Yeah, so if public safety is required, so you guys can't approve, you guys can approve it, but then it comes up to the select board, so just,
We watch
We'll handle it.
What gets
So is this
approved
just-
by us?
their application.
Your application.
yeah. You
So you're
handle
just
it.
kind of warning them that other fees might apply. if they
Right.
That's
need
all
that.
we're doing, that's all we're doing.
Right,
So then what you
And we
say
can't
may
approve
apply.
anything. But we can't, then our process needs to be reevaluated. Because again, I want to use the field house for a dance party. I submit my application in.
Mhm.
And I tell you, it's for 87 people, no alcohol.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm gonna need additional fire personnel or EMT present. We're not gonna know if it is. So how does the applicant, I'll give you a better example.
no, I like that.
That's a good example.
That's
Yeah.
a good one.
Or Circus Marcus wants to use the property to hold an event.
Well, that would get kicked up to us.
Right, so I think this is just telling the applicant, just so you know, additional fees may apply.
Agreed. Why does it get kicked up to you? And how is it different than?
Because all
the-
public property use, road races, anything, is approved by the select board.
Okay,
So my
so
guy
we
who
don't
wants
need
to
to have
use the
this
field
committee.
house,
Well,
Yeah,
no, because the Central Street recreational fields is the only one by your charge comes under you.
but if
But if there
Circus
were a liquor
Marcus,
license, if they were.
forget the liquor license, just Circus
I
Marcus
don't
wants to
know if
use it.
Circus Marcus would come up to us now. Anything on the the recreation fields
We-
over there,
Yeah.
We did
I
that.
think is beyond, because we don't approve any of these
Yep.
youth
Exactly.
soccer
So the
things.
question is, we don't know if it's going to need,
is it at that threshold where it needs
Like,
public
we don't
safety?
know and they don't know, so how does anybody know?
Who
Exactly.
determines it?
Couldn't be, we should just put that in. We don't know,
That's a
they don't know.
yeah,
That's a question.
any non-sport thing should be.
That's
Okay.
Yeah.
Or,
How,
What's the difference between 87 people or 50 people in the rec room thing in
yeah,
Circus Marcus?
still within the
Yeah.
threshold of
See, I
occupancy levels.
I don't think we need police for the senior center yoga, but we might need police.
Don't.
For pickleball.
For, well,
You don't know,
You know what I'm saying?
but how do we know and how do they know?
So
But who
like
determines that?
you could, someone
That's
could
what
rent
I
the
wanna know.
place for a fiddle contest or whatever, fiddle thing, and that's fine and dandy, but then someone could do like industrial metal in that same building, and maybe we might need a policeman, you know what I'm saying? Not against industrial metal.
Yeah, I
you just
feel
never
like
know.
that's
Yeah.
discriminatory.
okay,
It's all
so
different.
how does the rec committee determine police fire necessity for field house rentals?
Not even necessity, well, yeah, necessity, we're not dictating how many. Because I know in events, when they used to do the tournaments up there, it was the number of individuals required X number of police
Right,
for parking.
But then that changed, and it was up to the discretion of the fire department and the police department, which changed everything.
But then how did they know?
It's the,
How are they informed
Right.
that this event is going on? So do our
yeah,
so
applicant,
the way they're informed from the select board level is they need to have police and fire sign off on it. So that's what happened to this, is if they're gonna have an event like this,
a special event.
part of their consent form gets police and fire sign off.
Anybody who applies.
Anybody.
So
Even-
they could apply and have it like a family picnic on public property. Or it's a huge road race. Anybody?
No,
No.
it's whoever, actually, it's just liquor.
Yeah,
If they're gonna sell beer or wine.
well, that's a whole other issue, but to close public property,
I
that's
gotta
the
ask,
streets.
I gotta ask that
Yeah.
question.
yeah.
Yeah, ask it.
And if they want to put up a sign.
Well, then we have a sign by law.
Yes.
Okay, so the next thing is here, full liability for any damages to rented fields will be charged to the applicant.
That's gotta be changed because it's not fields, it's the field house.
Yeah.
So any
But
damage
we've
to
already
the
covered it, right?
Facility,
Any damage to the facility?
We already covered it, didn't we? Before that, we said you accept full responsibility for any damages incurred?
Yeah,
Didn't we already do that?
well, that's,
Okay.
I guess that was the question, are we keeping that piece in? And then that's where everyone got confused about
Where we were.
the field house versus the field.
Here is part of the problem, is originally we had the rules policy for the fields.
Yep.
When we started working on this,
Yeah, when you first seated.
many years ago, too long ago, we started working on two separate policies. One was done, we started a new one. At one point in time, the two documents got merged. So we took our existing field house policy and embedded it into the new document because it's going to be covering both areas.
All right, let me give her, so the last question here is this addressed in the application, the liability? The answer is yes, it's addressed in the consent form,
Yes.
right? Okay. let me have Julie clean this up.
Yeah, and then just because we're on the same page, number 10, about alcohol.
Right.
We don't control, alcohol can be used on a property if it goes through the proper channels. This was about using vaping, recreational use of marijuana, and legal drugs are prohibited. The town council wanted alcohol, questioned whether alcohol would be in there.
So can you say alcohol is permitted by
Yeah, and
by
that's
special
covered in other.
permit? Select board permission, something
Well,
like
the
that?
same thing, so this same exact line wording goes back to number 3, general rules and expectations. Number 9 is the same line, the use of tobacco products, vaping, recreational use of
Yeah.
marijuana, and illegal drug is prohibited. Then number 10 is the consumption of alcohol is only
Yeah.
permitted by legislature. So that number 10 here needs to also go after this
Yeah, it's a,
number
So,
10 here.
so you're
Can you
Can
saying
you read it
it's gonna be-
again, Courtney?
So,
Consumption of alcohol,
yes,
is only permitted.
See number 10?
it just needs to be copied
Yes,
and
number
pasted,
10.
yeah.
essentially.
Needs to be
Consumption of
there.
alcohol is only permitted, alcohol.
Because over on what you just referred to, Courtney, talks about residents or organizations to be removed or barred from use for disruptive behavior. That's not over here, so there's some overlap and some not overlap.
Yeah.
Only.
Yeah, like a lot of this stuff doesn't apply, field lining, soccer goal nets,
And that's because they all got merged. so
it
we
got
gotta-
merged, so that, like, this stuff doesn't pertain to the field house.
Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll go through this with Julie. And, clean this up. I'll remove, do you want me to remove anything that has to do with the fields? Because that's a separate policy?
No, it's not a separate policy. This document was intended to cover everything. That's why they got merged together. We had a field house policy, we had a field policy.
All right, but you want to strike that table still, right?
Because that table doesn't, that table is used elsewhere,
Okay.
specifically for the fields use.
Okay, so I'll look at this, I'll go through it, I'll make sure it makes sense, I'll have her clean it up, and,
Can we get at least 4 of us to have another review session?
oh
So
yeah.
just to be clear, this entire document is supposed to be for all the facilities, the fields, the field house, the basketball courts.
Everything at 81 Central Street,
Okay,
ideally.
okay.
okay.
So it's really not a field house policy, it should be
It's-
It
a,
doesn't say it in the front, it has something listed differently. If you look at that, it's.
But then all like the titles are
Yeah.
misleading.
Central Street recreational and environmental
Resource
resource area, use of
Use it, got it.
facilities
Yeah,
guidelines.
yeah, so that covers it,
Okay.
Okay,
all right?
let me see this.
So when do we think we should get together?
I don't know. When do you think we should get together? Is this like halfway through April? I guess the question is, when is this document being done?
When is your next meeting?
Uh,
April 3rd?
April 3rd.
It would be April 3rd-ish.
What I can do is I can work with Julie, I can get this a clean copy of this,
Mm-hmm,
send it out to everybody in the committee,
mm-hmm,
so that you all review the clean copy.
yep,
Reply back, or I'll have Julie send it out. Send her any edits that you may have,
Okay.
okay? And then we'll see where we are from there. If we need to meet, I'm gonna be out of town on the 3rd. I'm not here, so, if you can meet on the 3rd and go over those little minor edits without me, that'd be great. Otherwise, we might have to have another meeting, or I'll come in on May 1st, but,
I have a question,
mhm.
and this sort of goes back to, we agreed to raise the user fee for the property from $6 to $10, from $15 to $25. We did this
A while ago.
It was
Yeah.
back when, yeah. it was-
Did it ever go before the Board of Select?
I don't
Select
recall
board.
ever voting on it.
I think we did, this is back,
Is this when Damon was on the board? Was it that long ago?
I think it was Chuck, and, I'm being facetious now. No, it's been a while, since we did this.
We may have voted on it when Damon was on the board, that's how long ago.
Okay.
What do you, I'll have Julie look it up, what do you wanna know?
Because this has 10.
which is our new amount.
Which is our new amount, and that, when the numbers were inserted, if we use this set of numbers, or do we need to go back to the old numbers until this gets approved?
Listen,
Confirm.
you need to start these new numbers, so if it hasn't been voted on by the select board, I'm gonna add just that schedule. The rec
Yes.
committee recommends this schedule of being fees, and we'll vote on it we have a meeting coming up on Tuesday.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll make sure, because you guys need to charge that. You
Yeah,
can't go
yeah.
back to your old.
No.
your old.
No, agreed.
And I think you've been charging it, right?
I think this is the right now, we are charging it.
You are, right?
Yes,
Then we voted on it,
okay.
okay? Because they would have picked.
Those
it
are the
up.
amounts you would be putting in to
Okay, the
10 and 25.
25, and that's that tier 1 and tier 2.
something
I'll
like
see
that.
if Julie can get us the
10 and
date that we
25.
voted on
See, I
that.
was kind of looking through stuff. I know we voted on it, and I know that we approved it.
Yeah,
I know you did. If you voted on it and you approved it and it came to me, I think we voted on that. I think it was when Damon was on the board. That's how long ago it was.
okay.
I have no idea.
That was only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Could it have been 3 years ago?
That's why.
I think you guys voted. I think it's all set.
Next scheduled meeting, April 3rd, 6 o'clock. Can we schedule a meeting and I can, cancel it, or do you want to?
For what?
Well, if we need to have another meeting, because I think it would be prudent on our part to be able to approve it on the 3rd, so that.
Do you want to meet on the 27th and just have this?
And just have
Is
that.
that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, so that we can
That's
finalize it,
Can you
approve
guys
it.
make it the 27th?
I cannot do the
So we need to have Ben. I don't know, my schedule is 27, what day of the week is that?
Monday.
That'd be
It's a
a Monday.
Monday.
Can you do, is it the whole week you're gone? Or is it some other day that week? Because you don't have a selectman meeting, do you, on the 27th?
We have
or
one,
20th?
we don't meet on the Monday.
No, but do you have it on the 28th?
Yeah, we do.
It all depends,
What about the 20th?
Is it a quick meeting? It would be a quick
Just to
meeting?
finalize.
Yeah.
To
2 weeks.
finalize this.
The question is
I can
whether,
lay claim under town council, yeah, we can
yeah,
get
it's up to you to get that.
that. Yeah.
So we can do.
I mean, it's ambitious, but at least this way we
No,
won't
that, I'm like,
be
come on,
here.
you've had this since December. Can't you just get this back to us really quick?
So
I'll do it.
we could possibly do the 20th?
Would
Let
the
me make sure
20th
there's nothing on the calendar, hold on. And we could meet someplace else, but the 20th, the Newbury Cultural Council meets here between 5:30 and 6:30 on the 20th.
We can meet
So-
downstairs.
If it's that quick, I'm fine with, it's a lot easier for me to be
I
a
can
little
just
bit
get
later.
Matt to bring a camera downstairs.
You can meet in the Council on Aging.
Do you want to do 6 still? All right.
All right, let me make sure that I can get this back by then too. And you'll need to post 48 hours in advance,
spring
right?
begins.
Really,
What's that?
I think it was that
You need to
big.
post 48 hours in advance, so I'll make sure that town council gets this back to us by the
At
20th,
that time.
Yep.
because I can go
You
to the
still put it on the
20th
town
meeting.
calendar, 'cause it's a public meeting. You know how you do that? You have to put it on the town calendar. You
Yeah.
don't have to reserve the room, but you know how you just post it on the
Yeah, I'll do
calendar.
that tonight.
Are we saying 6
And what do you
o'clock?
call that room?
6
Just
PM
say the COA,
in the Council on Aging.
yeah,
That's the room downstairs to the right.
the first one, you want, yeah.
'Cause I'll do that tonight and the April 3rd meeting, I'll put on the calendar.
All right, so we're planning on April 3rd too, correct?
Yes.
That will be a regular monthly meeting.
Yeah.
I don't like having extra meetings, but sometimes you have to.
This one I
Um,
think we have to.
Oh, that would be recommended meeting, that would be the Chris Humphries thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at? Do we have to do anything more? I think that there's a bunch of things we've already gone over.
Yeah, let's just, I mean, it's,
Adjourn.
Yeah, it's late.
Adjourn.
Just,
Make a motion to adjourn meeting at 8:45.
That's not too bad.
Just confirm the dates for next time. Do we have to officially do that?
Yeah, so we are gonna officially meet on the 20th of this month and on.
Maybe.
Maybe. It's a big maybe.
Yeah.
And then the next committee meeting, other than the confirmation, will be April 3rd at 6 PM. That's understood. We'll put the other stuff on hold until our next meeting. And Mark is gonna request an adjournment at 8:47 PM on March 6th.
And you second it?
I second it. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Let's kill that